Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Bros podcast. We have a lot of good, interesting topics to debate, discuss, and probably yell at each other about today. Guys, I thought the whole Jaw Morant situation, and it's been going on for a little bit now. We saw some Jaw Morant outside of NBA stuff. We saw Sean Kemp, who's a local legend out here in Seattle, who played with the Supersonics for a while. We saw him get in some legal trouble as well the last few days. So, guys, I wanted to talk about these two specific topics at first. Let's go ahead and start with Jaw's information. Efren, what do you think about the whole Jaw troubles going on right now? What's your opinion of it?
I think it's just a very bad look for him, man. I respect that kid. He does a lot of good things for his teams, but I, I don't know why you're trying to fall into something like that and show stuff like that. You're supposed to be a role model for kids, and um, don't, there's no reason for you to be acting tough or what's it called if you don't have to. Um, what's the point of you showing a gun in a live feed post or bro? You're in the NBA. You're making millions. No, like why? I understand. Yeah, well, he has, but no. Sorry to tell you, but no. That's a no for me. Um, of course, I understand if there's no way for me to understand. Sorry to tell you that. I'm trying to, but with him, no. I you do your thing in the NBA, show kids that you can be in the NBA, you can do stuff that you got out. You know, if you are from the hood, that you got out of the hood, that you made it where you wanted to be. You don't have to go back to that lifestyle, you know. But that's my opinion, you know.
All right, yeah, no, I hear you. KJ, what do you think about Jaw, man? I know you got a good opinion on Jaw.
I think this whole situation's dumb. He's been doing this type of shit since like a year or two ago. He's been acting like he's a gangster on Twitter, and then I forgot about this, but I guess he had that whole situation at that mall with the security guard where him and his friends got kicked out or something. Then he's beating up a 17-year-old because he's talking trash and pulling a gun out on him, and now he's doing this, and it's just like it's just been going straight downhill for the past year or so. And I've heard that a lot of speculation is that because they came out and said that he's um, gonna get the help he needs, like he's got some kind of possibly a drug addiction or alcohol addiction or something. And they're saying it could be related to stress ever since he got this big contract. But you don't see very many players in the NBA act like this after they get that big contract. They either rise to the occasion or they just completely like fall off. But
And
yeah. What were you saying, Evan?
not putting my 2 cents in this part. Remember that girl, that tennis girl, the young one that kept backing out and getting
Naomi Osaka.
yeah, she got a lot of backlash for not doing things. And that's another thing that we can have. Let's be honest. We gotta be. We don't know what he's going through, honestly. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like I said, there shouldn't be a reason for him doing this stuff. And
Yeah.
that's me. Like I just wanted to bring up her name because I wish more athletes would come out and be like, "Damn, man," because that's showing their vulnerability to people like us. We all go through it. Let's be honest.
Well, and they
We,
are though, but they're not mainstream athletes. They're Michael Phelps came out with depression. Naomi Osaka did the same thing. Who's the gal that's the
DeRozan,
gymnast?
DeRozan,
You
and
know,
Kevin Love both came out.
Biles, Simone Biles. I
okay.
mean, these are great athletes, but uh they're not the
Tough tier.
first names that pop off of your tongue when you think about
Yeah.
athletes. Though.
And then for me, I
Well,
felt like I saw that the whole situation where the cops got involved. That would just seem kind of weird to me, because if you read the reports, there was nobody complained about the gun at the club he was at, and they said that there was no gun found when they did their investigation, and that's because he was already gone. Like he already was on the road back to other games, even if he didn't play. And The whole situation just seems dumb. The whole flashing the gun in the club to the police doing an investigation when there was no complaints or anything, even from the owners, and then like Memphis is doing this like intermittent suspension for him so that when it does come out, or if it does come out, that the gun is his and he brought it on the team plane during a team event, he's going to get a 50-game suspension.
Yeah.
And it seems like the Memphis Grizzlies are trying to appease to Adam Silver, like, hey, we've been disciplining him so that he could still end up. Because if he gets suspended for 50 games, he's not playing in the playoffs. Their season's over. But I don't know. This whole situation didn't need to happen. And I'm just mad that Kyrie got dropped for an Amazon link. Yes, there was anti-Semitic values, but he never clearly said that's how he felt. But then you got Ja Morant beating up 17-year-olds, minors, and then flashing guns on IG Live. It just seems kind of, I don't know. I don't like that Nike did that.
So that's some good stuff, guys. One thing I'm not sure if I heard you guys say, I'd add too, from what I'm hearing too, it just sounds like he's under a lot of pressure, which you guys did say stress, but he doesn't sound like he has the best group of friends, right? His hometown friends, or people he grew up with. I've heard people say that he needs to move on and get new friends. But just the most wild thing is, you guys, I'm sure know, he's a private school kid, right? He's literally a private school guy. My buddy sent me a picture of him in like a little uniform with was it his daughter, or not, sorry, his sister? It was a sister, right? Yeah, his sister, his dad, and his mom, and they all just look like a bunch of preps, and there's nothing wrong with that, But yeah, you don't have to change your image because now you have a bunch of people who are, idolizing you or whatnot.
Well, didn't his friend get banned from the Pacers arena for life because he was acting a fool, and then they had that whole situation after the game where they're flashing lasers at the Pacers team bus.
Well, and I think that's kind of it too, KJ. Like, you have someone like Ja who over the last couple of years, he's kind of now starting to get used to the spotlight, right? But man, think about it, if you're one of his good friends who you never have anybody that know who you are, and now all of a sudden you think you're so close to your guy to where you're already gifted a baseline front row seat, and now you think you're so hot because your guy is a star guy at this arena, and you think you can get up and cuss out anybody you please because you're his friend, right? So that's kind of the bad relationships that I think he might have. And it's just like, yeah, some of these guys need to just appreciate actually being friends with him and not be taking advantage of him. But yeah, I just think it's a wild story. The Memphis Grizzlies have a lot to worry about, and that's the least, they don't want to be worrying about his off court troubles. And so it's just unfortunate. Alan, did you have some more stuff to add about that? If not, do you want to take us to the Shawn Kemp story?
I just got a couple of things that I wanted to say about it, because I'm the biggest Ja fan of the four of us. I think he's the next face of the league, and you guys are always talking about Luka being the GOAT, which is probably, you're probably right about that, but I'm still, that kid just amazes me with the talent that he has, and that's like Efren said, I don't get it, and like KJ said, it makes no sense. It's just idiotic that he would be doing this kind of stuff when he grew up in a family that had everything that he could have asked for.
Well,
his father was making in excess of $100,000 a year. They lived in a big house. He had a basketball court in his backyard. Like you said, private schools. It just doesn't make any sense to me when you have so much to risk. But the one point that I do want to make that nobody actually brought out, because I've been wondering, where's his dad in this whole situation? He's acting like a clown just like he is, when he should be trying to set an example for his son, or at least talk to him about the decisions that he's making. And this guy is in the arena, clowning just as much as he is. And I don't understand that. I don't understand that. That's the one person that should be the voice of reason in this kid's group of confidants. So
I'm glad
That's
you.
basically all I got to say. I just I don't understand why where his father is in this whole situation and why he hasn't stepped up and said, smacked him around and said, listen, dude, you you got so much to lose if you keep going in the direction that you're going.
Well,
That,
and even before
that,
what's going on, and even before that, Efren, like it's crazy because before Morant was going through all this, everyone knew who his dad was, right? Because they show him so often, and I always
Yeah.
thought that was kind of interesting because it's like, yeah, you're supporting your son, great, but why are you on these cameras all the time? And I'm not, yeah, you can obviously blame ESPN, ABC, I get that, but like, yeah, this dude's like everyone knows who he is because he's always front of the camera.
Kind of like LeVar.
well, the
Yeah,
other
for
thing,
sure.
Yeah, exactly.
the other thing
Exactly. The
is,
same exact thing.
what you're saying right now is you see the dad playing Big Brother, not dad.
Well,
No,
yeah.
he's
Did
playing
you?
best friend.
Well, yeah.
He's
No,
Yeah.
playing
I've
best
heard.
friend instead
I
of dad.
saw some stuff that it comes like if you ask some of the Memphis Grizzlies players, they're saying that yeah, he's more of a fan than a dad, and they said
Yeah.
that they said that it's also kind of hard for him to say anything because now Ja is the breadwinner of the family. But at the end of the day, you got to stop being a fan and you got to tell him, hey, not only did you work for this, but we all worked for this to put you in the position to make this,
Yeah.
and you're messing
That's
it up
just
for
it.
everybody.
The sacrifices that this family did just so you could get to this point, and we're relying on you now, and you're
Throwing it all
jeopardizing
away.
all. Exactly.
What do you guys think about the whole Sean Kemp thing? That just happened a few days ago. I guess for the audience, Efren, explain to the audience that don't know what happened a few days ago with Sean Kemp.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I was watching a little bit of information. I guess this happened in Tacoma. He got some stuff stolen out of his car, which was like a phone and some other stuff. He detected where the phone was at. When he was going over there to confront the people shot at him first. Then he shot back as self-defense. And that's all I know. I know he got arrested for it. For something like that, I understand the self-defense. But at the same time, why didn't you get the cop? You're a big fan. I know you're not as famous as you used to be, but somebody stole your stuff. You should know if you're going back that way, you got to be prepared for something like that. You should take authorities with you. If you're, I don't know about the shooting back part, but I do know that Seattle or Washington is an open. What is it called? Open
Carry.
carry state. So yeah, but I just don't. Give me some more information if you guys know more, because that's all I know about it.
And that's the thing that kind of pisses me off, though, is that you're saying all this, and I didn't see any of this. All I saw was Sean Kemp arrested in an alleged drive-by shooting, and like that's what we were telling Alan, and Alan's like, bro, he's 53, he doesn't need to be doing a drive-by. But you put this in the title, and it makes Sean Kemp look like the bad guy. When I mean, even then, he shouldn't be. I mean, he has however much money. I know he blew a lot of it, kind of like we were talking about the whole AI. Or I was talking with someone about how AI is relying on that Reebok deal. But doesn't he own a hemp business with Gary Payton or something?
Multiple businesses, bro.
Yeah, so he's got money. So to be shooting people over, like you said, a phone or whatever was stolen out of his car, unless it's like legal documents, even then, it's you don't need to be doing that, especially out in Tacoma.
But that's the thing. It was the media was really fast and quick to rush that story, and it was completely, like you said, KJ, it was completely different to what you initially heard, and then what Efren said. So they came out with what Efren said next, like I think it was next day or 2 days later, and that's why he was also. Go ahead.
And just to correct, see, you guys, I heard it after on the TV, not when it happened, right when it happened. I heard it after, so probably more stuff got added on. That's how I found out about this when I was watching. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, right now, I'm looking at it and I was like, okay, but I didn't know nothing about a drive-by shooting until somebody said something about it right now. Like that's what they were talking.
No. So Efren, that was the initial article. The initial article was.
They said that it was a drive-by.
Because they actually have video. So you guys can probably find it now too. They actually have video of Kemp shooting the guy, right? And it's wild because
He's just walking. He's not even in a car.
so it's like, why would they even come up with the whole drive-by thing? And it's funny because from the reactions of the people filming the video, obviously they were a little concerned, but it was almost like they acted like it was something a tense moment before that, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you see them kind of pull out something, shoot, and you hear the sound of it. So yeah, the media completely got it wrong. And I'll just say, lastly, it's tough because I don't necessarily know if he did contact the cops to try to get his stuff back. And as you guys know, it's tough because ideally you do that. You should always get the cops involved, especially for your safety. But let's also be honest, man. Sometimes you just get nothing back from these cops, right? Like, man, I've had, unfortunately, my house has been broken into, and man, I've had to do a lot of the work myself. So there's just, and as you guys know, obviously, as well, that agency is always losing cops as well, right? So they small stuff like that. I just don't think they're as concerned. So I'm kind of getting why Shawn Kemp might have felt like he had to do it himself, but I'm not condoning it because at the end of the day, she never got to that point.
Well, and the whole situation is so like it just happened yesterday, so not all the details are out. But like, I'm reading this article, and I know it's TMZ, but they're saying that there was before people started recording, there were shots already fired, but Kemp didn't look in the video. If you look at the video, Shawn Kemp didn't look phased at all. He looked like he just pulled out the gun and started shooting. And to say that there was gunshot or the gun was shot before multiple gunshots before, it just seems like kind of weird that his demeanor was that. And then now I'm reading it. It also says that he ditched the gun in a bush before talking to the police. So it's like it's hard because it seems like at one thing you're hearing one thing and then you see the other, and then he's released the same day, but then also he's ditching the gun, so it seems like he's guilty of something. It's just a whole situation, and there needs to be more details.
Why ditch the gun? Because it's like you either are saying that you might have this gun illegally, or you're trying to act like you weren't acting in self-defense. Because if you're right to own that gun, you can always point to self-defense. So that is interesting. Why he would ditch that gun.
So, who do you guys see that could make a deep playoff run this year in the NBA? I mean, I know that we just saw that Durant is supposedly out for the rest of the regular season, and then you got the whole jaw situation. You got LeBron injured. It just seems like the West is falling apart. Do you see anybody from there, or do you just see a Eastern team taking it, whoever gets there? Alan, you go first.
This is a great opportunity for Denver with the injuries and the players that aren't playing right now and will be sidelined until the playoffs start or into the playoffs. But the one team that I've been talking about in the West, well, actually two teams. I'm not sure the Pelicans can make that run without Williamson. But
that's another
you never
guy.
know. They do have the experience. They do have the experience of being there last year. But man, guys, the Kings they're fascinating to me. And I don't want to sound like a homer. I don't want to sound like a homer because I never really was a huge fan of the Kings. But man, it's just really wild to see them, playing as well as they're playing, and then and doing it against, yeah, exactly, and doing it against the teams that you wouldn't expect them to. Now, I think they can make a run, but the team that probably gives me the biggest fear right now, with the way that everything is going, is gotta be Golden State. Everybody keeps looking past them, thinking that that they're past their prime, but this is the perfect opportunity for them to to step up and eliminate some of these teams that everybody was thinking were going to be there. I mean, I can't see them not beating Phoenix without Durant. I can't see them, not getting past Luka and Kyrie, because they're still trying to figure out who's the leader of that team and who's going to be the last guy to take the shot. And so I think it's a perfect opportunity for Denver on the Eastern Conference side. I'm still sticking with Cleveland. They've been the most consistent team in the NBA to me all year long. I mean, they've literally, held fast since day one, and it's really uncanny that a team that is playing for the first year together for the most part with with a bunch of young guys that is has played as well as they have. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. They've beaten Milwaukee, they've beaten Boston, and they've beaten them in their own arenas also. So, the whole thing about experience and not being there plays a big part in what they may do or may not do in the playoffs. But, I think that, the NBA is such a different game now that, you really can't count on, teams that don't have experience not to be able to walk through the playoffs and actually, open some eyes and knock off some teams that, we probably expect to be there. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, like what you said is I told you this the other day. I think the Warriors, they're the 6th seed right now, and they just got blown out by 20 to the Grizzlies without Ja. And I told you they have one of the worst road records in the league. And if they're not a 4 seed or higher every series, that's game 7 is going to be on the road. The first 2 games are going to be on the road. Do you really think that they can overcome that against these teams?
Who better to do that than a team that's won 4 titles, a team that has experience, a team that has leadership, a team that's tough,
Well,
But I remember what I told you about.
to do that.
Hold on.
And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and even beyond, before that, experience is going to play a big part in this thing, and the regular season is one thing, but the postseason is another thing, guys.
A lot of people say is the Warriors get bored with the regular season now. The Warriors, and this is with Amos. I remember Amos talking about it last year. Remember, Amos, you said they look 2 different teams from when it comes to the play. Of course, they had an easy way into the finals. I believe so, but
It's kind of like Miami when they had LeBron. They would just coast during the regular season.
Yeah, and then step it up in the playoffs.
Yeah, but who did they have to play against in the East, bro, when that team was put together?
Well, no, you play every team, but you play but you play everybody.
I know, but
yeah, you do play everybody, but I mean, the majority of those games are played against their conference, and they, who was going to challenge them?
Well, what I'm saying is, like, I told you this, that the reason why they play so bad on the road right now is because they say that you need to be more disciplined on the road. Even Steven Adams said that about the Grizzlies and their road record, but that Draymond is supposed to be the leader of the team, but he can't say nothing to the younger guys ever since he punched Jordan Poole in the face. He can't be that spark that they need for the young guys to understand, hey, we're less than 20 games from the playoffs. We need to start picking it up and get some momentum.
So I think that would
you're right.
If I could just jump in for a second, I do think that probably was a factor, though, KJ, for sure, early on. I don't know about right now, but I do think that's a really good point, especially early on and probably even mid-season, man. You got to think their relationship was still probably trying to, I know they said they were cool or whatnot, but let's be honest, you're still probably get into a good graces, with your teammates now still, and you're still trying to fight that. So I would also add too, Efren, and that's my thinking, like a team like the Warriors, when you've won it before, you have the pedigree and you have the talent, you have a lot of the same guys. They're not taking the regular season as serious as they used to, when they're up and coming, right? So they obviously dealt with injuries, but a big thing you guys haven't even mentioned yet, KJ, what game? How many games now has Andrew Wiggins missed? Because he hasn't even been playing for a while.
I think he's missed a lot.
A lot of games. That's their best, which is crazy to say Wiggins, right? But like that guy turned into a really good defender, and so they've been missing pieces. But Allen, man, I hear you, bro. Like, at the end of the day, they're not a good road team. But if you're going to bank on players that can win a road game, you're going to do it with guys who've done it before. And so to that point, but man, I just don't know about
30 games.
This season just feels different, though, man. I just think they're playing too much catch up.
No, you're right. It does, but I think with all the stuff that's going on with some of these other teams, I think that this is the perfect opportunity. And And the one thing that I wanted to say is that, who better to turn that switch on than a champion? Who better to pull a team together? We've talked about, the whole Poole and Draymond thing, but who better to pull that team together than a team that's done it before in the past?
Yeah.
Well, and let me pull an Efren real quick, man. Let's be honest. You guys know Warriors aren't going to be afraid of any of those teams in the West, right? Because to that point, Alan, the West is just so completely different this season. Denver Nuggets are completely far and away the best team, right? I think it's what, KJ, 6.5 right now, 6 or 7.5, 7.
6.5.
They're far and away the best team, and if you're the Warriors, you beat those guys before, so you're not really like scared of the Nuggets. You're not afraid of the Kings. I mean, no offense to the Kings, it's a great story, right?
Yeah,
I hope they stay where they're at right now, because if they're the 6th seed going in, they're going to be playing the Grizzlies, and I want to see that matchup.
Backtracking you right now from that statement that you just made about not being scared of the Kings this year, honestly, the Warriors have not been able to beat the Kings this year at all.
No, you said the Nuggets.
Games.
I thought you said the Nuggets.
Games.
They haven't.
That's one thing I can tell you, that I don't. If it goes to a scoring thing, remember we talked about this last time we were talking about the Suns before KD got hurt. I still think the Suns are going to the finals the way they're gelling, and that's still my team to go to the finals. But there is one team that can keep up with them, and that is the Sacramento Kings by scoring. No defense. I just don't see. Hold on. The reason I say that is you're gonna have Sabonis against Ayton, which Sabonis is a great big man.
He's playing center?
Yeah, he's playing center.
I thought he was playing.
So no, they move him to center.
Oh, because Keegan Murray.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got that. And then, like I said, you got scorers coming off the bench. And then DeAndre Fox, man, that kid is incredible.
Oh, De'Aaron Fox,
star.
Star. Like this kid can take over games at any point of the. He's becoming that leader that can take over games for them. And then you have Harrison Barnes, that's just there as a veteran.
Who has a championship?
Yeah, as a veteran.
Has a championship.
Oh, if the sorry, Amos, not to cut you off, but just one quick thing. If the Warriors play the Kings, the Warriors are losing. They got the Curry stopper, Dellavedova. It's over.
So I was just looking at that, KJ. I was going to say something about that, man.
So since Efren said something to me, so no, I mean that's fair, Efren. I mean, if I tell you, hey, the Warriors aren't afraid of the Kings, and the Kings have beat them in the series, that's totally fair for someone like, whoa, wait a minute, look at the results this year. So that's totally fair. I'm just saying, I still don't think they're worried about the Kings. You know what I'm saying? I just think from a experience, talent, they're championship guys. I just think they're not going to be afraid of the Kings, a young team who hasn't done anything, has no experience, And so, yeah, that's fair though, Efren. Like they haven't played them, but let's be honest, they've lost a lot of guys though. Hold on. They've lost a lot of teams though this year because they've struggled with a lot of teams because they just have
struggling with health.
Yes, and one thing I look at it too is if it like you guys say, if they have a road team. Bruh, that Sacramento fan base right now.
Oh, that arena gets loud.
It
gets Seahawks loud. It gets Seahawks loud.
Bro, exactly. And it's been how long since they've been in the playoffs?
Hey, when have y'all seen it get that loud? I mean, you guys are right. It does get loud.
I have now.
I know you have. I'm saying those cowbells, right? Those cowbells get loud, man. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We'll see, I guess, right? But it's been ages since they've been loud. So, but to that point though, Efren. But again, let's just be honest with ourselves. Game 7, yes, that's fair. I do. If the Warriors are struggling on the road, that's a good point. Flip side, the Kings have never played a Game 7. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always going to go. I'm always going to go step.
Hold on, but that's what we said about the Dallas Mavericks last year against the Phoenix Suns.
No, but guess what? But time out. But again, every team is different though, Efren. So you can't just say, "Oh, I could see an NFL team or a baseball team in the league." And then lastly, Efren, that's a little disingenuous. You agree with, so I appreciate that. But it's just disingenuous also, Efren, because let's be real now. You, me, and KJ, who do we think's the GOAT? Luka. And so you do that because you have Luka. You know what I'm saying? De'Aaron Fox is amazing, like you said. He really is. But bro, Luka, That's a different animal.
The thing is though that do you think? And I know they got the most championship experience the last 6 years or whatever, but do you really think that if the Kings go up 2-0, the Kings can't steal one on the road, and then what is it 3-1 going back to Sacramento? You don't think that? Do you think that they could come back from that? Because I think the Kings could still win in Golden State.
Yeah. So are you asking me? You're basically saying yeah. No. So just to be clear, I'm just saying in his scenario, Game 7, I'm just saying I would go with Warriors because Steph is Steph and he's done that before. But you're asking me based on the series, and so yeah, bro. Honestly, man, I mean, I think right now, I think most people would probably have the Kings right over the Warriors just because they haven't been healthy, they haven't been smooth. Yeah. So no, I mean, to your point, KJ, like, yeah, the Kings should certainly beat the Warriors on the road, man.
And it seems like a lot of their young guys have regressed. Moses Moody, Kuminga's regressed, or he hasn't gotten better since last year.
After the jump, yeah, I want to say they regressed. They just haven't the jump.
Think about all the injuries that they've had, though, guys, and that in itself is going to put a lot of pressure on young guys that have never had that pressure before.
Yeah, but it gives them more time.
If they're healthy, though, the Warriors are the kind of team that could go into Sacramento and steal a game 1 and put that doubt in their mind. Oh my God, this is the Warriors, and that series could be over in 4 games.
True.
You know what I mean?
No, and if I'm being honest with you guys, I know myself and I know Efren too, bro. I know Efren, pretty well, and I guarantee you, if me and Efren were in Vegas and they were having a series, Efren and me are both betting for Warriors. You know what I'm saying? Because one, we're talking, and 2, we'd probably pick on the championship experience over the inexperience. Now, would me and Efren bet our lives on it? No, because like we said, the Kings have been better. But yeah, I promise you guys, we'd probably be betting for Vegas or for the Warriors in Vegas if we were in Vegas.
Yeah, and I'm sure they would be favored in that series too, though. Even if they were the lower seed, they probably would be favored in that series just based on who they are, where they've been, and what they've done.
If they were healthy, yes. Like if Andrew Wiggins came back, they were healthy, they started on a win streak, then yes. But if it's like now where, the Warriors are kind of just in it because, the West is kind of down, you know what I'm saying, where they're kind of just hanging on. I don't necessarily know if that's the case. But man, KJ, I know you asked Alan. I'll give my teams.
Hold before you go, because Efren already said the Suns. What's your Eastern team you see going deep?
Okay, yep.
Efren.
Oh, my Eastern team going deep? I've been saying this. Boston has lost so much respect for me.
Yeah, they're 5-5 in their last 10.
And you've had your starters playing. I don't know, it's just because you're tired.
Jason Tatum's been out.
No, he was playing a couple of games. He just was out last game. But to give up 3 games in a row, double-digit leads, and your team is based on defense, that is.
Is Time Lord playing?
Who?
Time Lord, Robert Williams.
Oh yeah, he was playing.
He was.
Yes, he was. He hasn't been out. He hasn't been out that I seen when I was watching the games. Of course, with Giannis and that team, they're rolling through it right now. But just like Alan said earlier, he put me on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I started watching them play. And you guys can play with anybody, I think. So I see Cleveland making a run. Making a deep run this year. Remember we discussed this too. Me and we're text messaging last time in our text message with Amos. And remember I told you about that Brooklyn Nets team. That bench scored 98 points themselves, and they could scare a Boston team or team. So I know you said they weren't number one. Sorry, I don't want. Like I said, I'm not putting. But remember you said this team they're a bunch of no names. Well, these no names are trying to make a name for themselves, and they're showing you when you can come back from 2 times being down double digits. One against against the 2 best teams in the league. You did it against Milwaukee, and you did it against Boston. Down 20.
And they're a far better defensive team than they were before the trades.
Yes.
A far better defensive team.
Efren, to that point you just said though, that's a good stat as far as the bench being really good. Can I also say it in 2 ways though? So we can go on and on because I still believe the Nets do have a bunch of names, man. Especially when you look at the starters, look at their. I mean, let's be but this can be a whole different topics. But I also say that second part to your point as far as the bench goes. couldn't you also say, well, yeah, their bench? I mean, I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm not looking at the stats, but couldn't you also say like their bench probably has a lot more players who are closer in quality to their starters? You know what I'm saying? Because again, they don't have a lot of impact superstar starters. So usually with teams like that, when you don't have like the stud starters, you're playing a lot of guys. And so a lot of times you got situations where you might have your bench able to produce close to your starters because your starters. I'm guessing they probably don't have elite scoring in their stars because they don't have a lot of elite scores, right?
I understand what you're saying about
that there's two parts of it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I understand when I was watching these games, they're doing it against the starting five, and they were doing it against the starting five of a Milwaukee defensive team, a Boston defensive team that is not supposed to let you come back. Of course, they finished off the game and won the game. But the thing is, the way I'm saying it is, you can make a deep run. Because remember, people say, we were talking about this. The teams cut their teams
lineups.
Cut their teams roster down to 8 players.
That's exactly what I was thinking, bro.
But
we're on the same page.
Yes, but if the Nets don't have to do this, and they can bring their bench players into the role system, how do you know that they can't make it to an Eastern Conference Finals?
Think about your game plan. If you're playing 10 guys versus 7 guys, you can run all game long and tire that team out. And if you're getting the same production from your bench that you're getting from your starters, man, that's a game plan that I would want.
Well, I'll say
Lopez, from Milwaukee. From Milwaukee, Brook Lopez was the guy that was keeping them in the game. Remember, Alan said this about Milwaukee. If Brook Lopez doesn't show up, that team gets blown out. And I'm like, damn, this is supposed to be the number 1, number 2 team in the what's it called? You're doing it against a bunch of players, and they're in the playoffs. They're a 60 right now, I think, right?
Yeah,
they've maintained the same position that they had with Durant and Kyrie. They've maintained that. They haven't lost anything.
I will say that I was on Amos's side with the fact that there's a bunch of no names. But if you're saying that their bench is halfway decent, I didn't realize how big of a jump Claxton has made this year. So now you have Dinwiddie, who's dropped like 30 at least, or like above 25 almost every game since he's been a net. Then you have a good defensive, and I'm not saying he could guard Embiid or Giannis, but I'm saying he's a good defensive big man. And then Dinwiddie, I mean, that's pretty much, besides the weight of Claxton, that's pretty much what you got with the Sixers. You got a scorer, Mikal Bridges, James Harden. You got a big man that can play decent defense, and he boosted his rebounding 4 rebounds a game this year. And then Dinwiddie and Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey's got the speed, but Dinwiddie can score. He's a vet. He knows how to get buckets. And so I'm not saying that
plays defense.
I think depending on who they play in the first round, they could possibly get to a second round, but I don't see them getting farther than that.
And if I could just jump in for a second too. I mean, at the end of the day, I still believe, like, again, we're naming Bridges as KJ just compared Bridges. I'm not putting your words in your mouth. KJ just compared Bridges to James Harden, right? Let that sink in for a second. Because and like a week and a half ago, we wouldn't even thought Bridges was even capable of that. And now we're expecting Bridges to almost be like a James Harden type of scorer,
I was just saying the matchup wise, he would be guarding James Harden.
But what I was saying is, I'm not trying to make it seem like you're saying he's better than James Harden or he's a scorer like James Harden. I'm just saying, like, we're just now saying he's a scorer, but we wouldn't have said that a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And yes, he's getting chances, but I'm just saying when you're on a team with not a lot of stars, everyone kind of plays above themselves because you're getting chances. There's scoring. You have to have, bro, if you put a team full of just no scores, that team is still going to get you about 80 points a game because someone has to score. It's the NBA, It's
kind of like Efren said, good player on a bad team.
No, for sure. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but think about this, though, guys. There's no pressure on them. There was no expectation once those trades were made. So there's no pressure on those guys, and that's why they're playing so well, because they're not feeling any pressure.
But that's what I'm saying now. There's absolutely no pressure, and I'm telling you, I promise you guys, these teams aren't worried about the Nets because they're going into it thinking they're going to kick their ass because they just lost KD. No, just hold on. They just lost KD. They just lost Kyrie. All I'm saying is just from a fan perspective, from a player perspective, if you're telling me I'm going to play KD and Kyrie, and then next week they're both gone, I'm just saying I'm not taking that team.
Fear, and now that fear is gone.
I'm going to take them a little lighter. It was the point I made about the Seahawks. A lot of teams thought the Seahawks were going to be pretty garbage, and teams kind of took them lightly, and they were able to surprise teams. So I kind of see the Nets as like a Seahawks above 500. And yeah, Efren, maybe they could make some noise, but I would still bet on them losing the first round. Would that make them a bad year? No, because at the end of the day, they rebuilt it and they still made it. So that's good on them. I also give what's the head coach's name? Kenny Atkins.
Atkins, yeah.
I give big props, right?
It
you lose those.
No, I thought it was
no, it's a
the
Jock.
dude from Kansas,
Jock.
Jock
Vaughn.
Vaughn. Yeah.
Bro, I remember Jock Vaughn too, man. Like, it's funny how like you see these like Tyrone lose like those third string point guards, and now they're like the big mans, you know.
But they were the guys that ran teams. They know the offenses. Yeah. They know the schemes.
Jason
they know
Kidd.
that stuff.
Steve Nash was the only one that sucked as a coach.
Can I ask you guys about one more thing? Do you guys think Tyronn Lue is on a hot seat already?
No, I think Kawhi is. Kawhi needs to prove that he can play more than 30 games a season and do something in the playoffs. Because, I mean, he was playing good. Who were they playing? The Jazz? Or no, they were playing the Suns. They were playing good against the Suns, and then that's when he got hurt. Or no, it was against the Jazz, and then they pulled it off against the Jazz, and then went to play the Suns, and it was just Paul George versus the Suns team that went to the finals.
Yeah, and I understand that, but the thing is, remember you were what 1-5 coming in when you're playing when you got Westbrook, you're 1-5.
Oh, since they won in their last 14 games before the All-Star break.
They won the first 2 games.
No. They just won the first one after like being 0-4.
Yeah.
But no, before they got Westbrook, they were 10-4 going into the All-Star break, their last 14 games, and then when they got Westbrook. But I mean, Kawhi doesn't play, and their defense has been terrible. But Amos, what are your top teams that you see?
Yeah, I think that's more on the team than it is on the coach, bro.
Yeah, to be honest with you. Well, yeah, I just think building-wise, the Clippers, man, they always have like a couple stars, and then the rest of the pieces are just all over the place, I feel like, you know?
Well, they messed up since they put Westbrook in the starting lineup and took Terrence Mann out. Because Terrence Mann was playing good.
That didn't make sense, yeah. So, as far as my two teams, I'm going to go, one's way easier than the other. So, we'll go with the West, the easier first. My first team that I think is just going to make a long run, and I might repeating myself, but it's just too easy not to say these guys, would be the Denver Nuggets. So
I thought you were going to say a different team.
I know who you were thinking. Trust me, I was tempted. Efren, but then I would have meant Efren would have got up off the seat if I said them. So Denver Nuggets, I just look at it from the standpoint of they've clearly been the best team on the West. They're 6.5 games, 7 games, or 6.5. That's what it is, 6.5. Their defense, great, efficiency, great, and they have an MVP choice. You might win his third MVP this season
in a row.
And we all know their bugaboo. It's the playoffs, and so I totally get that. I understand that. But man, I just look at the West, and it's like kind of like I said a few years back. I thought it was a Milwaukee Bucks situation where they're just ready to kind of go through after losing and being upset. It's their time finally, and I just look at the West. Who's going to challenge them? We talked about the Kings. Every team you mention has at least an issue, okay? So you can at least make a con for each team. The Kings are extremely young. They have no experience. They have talent, but no experience. They're extremely young, and that's the second best team right now. The third best team in the is who?
Grizzlies.
They're tied. The Grizzlies and the Kings are tied with the same record.
So Grizzlies have so many issues off the court with Ja, and they've been kind of struggling even on it. Yes, I get that they won. Yes, last night they won by 20.
And they're missing their backup big who tore his Achilles, Brandon Clark.
They just lost Brandon Clark. So Memphis just has so many issues, and talent-wise, you can argue the Nuggets have more talent, especially with all these injuries and Ja missing time. So then after that, we go back to the Suns and the Mavericks. I feel like Well, the Suns, we've talked about the Suns a lot, man. They were kind of my sleeper. Got KD, but with the injuries, we know with KD, he just got hurt in warmups. Chris Paul has histories of getting hurt in the playoffs, and so KD and Chris Paul are so brittle. Okay,
Well,
so
and how far will they fall? How far are they going to fall in the standings without KD? Like you said, they didn't need Chris Paul that game, Efren, but if there's no KD, you're going to need somebody, especially now that Mikal Bridges is gone.
They just did it against OKC, bro. They put up 100 and something points, and that's
OKC sucks,
bro. But
but I'll just keep talking about it. So, anyways, the Suns, and then we're not even talking about the Suns' lack of defense, which you two, and that's fine. Alan and Efren, you guys are a lot more higher on the Suns than me and KJ, but as a whole, the Suns just don't have the defense. So you guys are assuming, or not assuming, I'm not gonna say you guys are assuming, but let's all assume the Suns are healthy. That's a big if, okay? So to me, the Suns are their biggest threat. And so I also look at the Mavericks, who are scary because, man, Luka and Kyrie in a playoff series, that two scoring duo is going to give the Nuggets issues because the Nuggets don't have a scoring duo like those two. But I just think that getting to the playoffs, getting to the Nuggets are going to have a lot easier of a time. They've been more consistent, and they can always go back to their defense. And so I just have to go with the Nuggets. I know it might be an easy choice because they're the number one seed, but I mean, they've just proven themselves this season, regular season wise. And I will sit on a stool and say to you guys, they are ready to get to the finals. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's it. I'll just say a little sleeper though, KJ. Watch out for those Lakers, Efren, man. Watch out for those Lakers. Because all I'm saying is AD, Anthony Davis, man, he's insane.
Top 5 player when healthy.
But you guys talk about KD being healthy. What happens if Anthony Davis gets hurt?
So let me jump in. Good question, Efren. No, good question, Efren. But KJ, I'll let you take over. KJ actually posted something in our Discord the other day. We talk about AD being injury prone, and that's fair. But man, KD is actually more injury prone, and you can give the numbers, KJ. But at the end of the day, Efren, it's all about if they're healthy. Okay, so you're right. It's probably why I wouldn't bet on the Lakers because he does get hurt a lot. But I'm just saying, a healthy Lakers, man, with AD, with LeBron, who isn't even their best player, that's a team to look out for in the West. And I just named all the cons, all these teams. And so that's just my sleeper team, but I just got to go with the Nuggets number 1. That's my favorite.
Hey, can I say something real quick though?
Yep.
I like that pick, Amos, because of the fact that Denver's healthy right now, and they're getting some production out of Porter that we haven't seen before. And you could be onto something, man. I mean, this could be the year that they actually make that step and solidify themselves as a legitimate contender for the title. But because of the fact that they're playing as a unit, but they're staying healthy. That's the biggest thing right now for me, is that they haven't had any major injuries.
And that's the thing. Remember last year, there was times where Aaron Gordon was having to be their second best option, man. And now he's comfortably their 4th guy,
Exactly.
And you guys got to understand, Denver is a different animal to play in Denver because of that what's the altitude or whatever, right? The altitude. Yeah, the altitude. So, man, I'm just saying, y'all, like, Denver is my team. I'm staying with them for now. As far as the East, this will probably get more discussion because it's hard, man. It really is hard. You guys know I've been rocking with the Celtics all year long, but they've also struggled. I mean, Efren, you've been kind of calling it out now the last week or so. They've been struggling a little bit, and for me, I'm not one of those that's just going to get off the bandwagon after a few bad games. But now it's been, 2 weeks of this now where they have kind of been closer to 500. And so at the end of the day, I would still pick them if I'm being honest with you guys. I still got to go with them. But if I'm not going with my Celtics, I'm so glad I said this team and you guys did. And this doesn't mean I'm right at all. But I'm going with the Sixers.
I said the Sixers.
You have Joel. What do you say, KJ?
I picked the Sixers to go to the finals.
but you haven't talked today, big boy. So I beat you to it. So I just look at Joel Embiid. Man, MVP candidate, right? I mean, he literally might be taking over for Jokic. He might be MVP. But you have a big in him, James Harden and Tyreke Maxey. man, those three guys can score. They have defense. They can shoot a little bit too. They have a decent bench, and they're tough, and they win tough games. And so I just think, Milwaukee, man, it's tough because Efren, you're my guy. I appreciate you, man, because you definitely give me props for my Milwaukee love 2 years ago. So I feel kind of bad for just I haven't mentioned them really since, right? But man, I'm gonna leapfrog the Sixers over the Bucks. I know I'm disrespecting the Bucks a little bit, but yeah, the Sixers are my team right now with the Celtics struggling. So I'll go ahead and say the Sixers and Nuggets as of now are my teams to pick going forward.
Okay, well now that you stole my pick.
but today. I'm just saying.
KJ, you can always pick Oklahoma City, bro.
Shut up. Well, okay.
What jersey are you wearing, KJ? Be loyal for once, man.
I'm wearing a Kings jersey. It's just the color's off.
That's their alternate jersey, right? The alternate.
Yeah. But no. To what you said though, what Efren says. All right. Well, I'll bring up the stat. So it says Anthony Davis since 2019. Anthony Davis has played 179 games to Kawhi's 148 and Kevin Durant's 132. So essentially he's played 47 more games than KD, Anthony Davis, and he's injury prone. The thing is, when Anthony Davis gets an injury, it's a 2-week injury. When Kevin Durant gets an injury, it's a 2-month injury. And that's the difference. Kevin Durant has these bigger injuries, and he's older, and he's not the most built. But to that point, though, what Amos and Allen said, Michael Porter Jr. hasn't been the healthiest either. He missed his whole first year. Then the next year, he only started 8 games. Then he had his best year, where he averaged damn near 20, and then went back last year to only playing 9 games before he got injured. And what was 2 years ago? 2 years ago, who did they play in the playoffs? Who did they lose to?
Utah, or was that last year?
No, last year they lost to Golden State.
Yeah, I think it was Utah.
Who?
The Nuggets 2 years ago.
Wasn't it Utah, or was that?
Weren't they up? Weren't they up like 3-1 or?
No, that was in the bubble that Utah was up. Utah was
the year
up.
before that. Okay.
But Utah was up, and the Nuggets came back.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was the bubble. That was with Jamal Murray.
Okay, so 2 years ago, they lost 4-0 to the Suns.
So it was Suns, yeah.
That was Michael Porter's best year, and he's playing worse this year. His efficiency is lower, and his points per game, all of his production is lower than it was that year that they lost to the Suns. Now, I don't see there being a team as good as that Suns team was, unless KD comes back and he's 100% healthy. But I just, like you guys said with Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant, you got to look out for Michael Porter Jr. Is he going to have a back injury since he had that really tough surgery that Kerr and Tiger Woods had that I told you guys that ended Kerr's career? But for me personally, I have to go with the Lakers. Anthony Davis, like I said, is a top 5 player when healthy. And he was playing like this when LeBron was there. So it's not a product of, he's getting more touches since LeBron's out. No, he did this when LeBron was there. If you get a 80% healthy LeBron who's revitalized and ready to play, because you know how he goes dark mode in the playoffs and shit, if you get him and D'Lo's back, I think that they can make a really deep run. I think they could possibly get to the Western Conference Finals. And my other team, I saw how well they were gelling, Durant and Booker. They were gelling really well. I just don't trust Chris Paul in the playoffs. I don't trust KD's health. I don't trust Ayton at all to be aggressive. He's like when we were complaining about Anthony Davis not being aggressive. He has these really great games, and then it's followed by 3 bad games. And Devin Booker is always injured in the playoffs. That's why they lost that Bucks series.
But you trust LeBron not to give up on his team if something's going bad?
I mean, he was the only reason why they were about to win that Suns series the first year. The year that the Suns went to the finals?
He gave up on his team. Right or wrong?
No.
Right or wrong?
When? When they played the Suns?
He gave up on his team twice. He's given up on his team twice.
When?
The year
When he was young.
that they lost to the Suns, he gave up on his team because Anthony Davis was playing.
He was playing
Everybody was
terribly.
playing. Yeah, but he gave up on it. That's why I don't give up. That's why I don't see the Lakers going anywhere.
I don't know, man, because that was still the same year that he came back from that Solomon Hill ankle injury, and he was hurt, and Anthony Davis got hurt too. I'm just saying, I see my Western Conference Finals, if the Suns don't get it together, I honestly see, depending on how they end up seeded, if they don't play each other before this, I honestly can see the Kings and the Lakers playing in the Western Conference Finals.
Right? How can you give up on the? How can you guys not say the Suns when they're 5-0 in the last 5 games they played and have been blowing out teams? Even without Durant, they played against. I guess they're not that good no more, but they have players in OKC, but they're not that good. But they blew up. Porter,
Not good.
Yeah, but with KD, they barely beat Luka, beat the Mavs, who have a terrible
What do you
defense.
mean?
They barely. Luka was
blowing out.
Luka was a little 2-foot shot away from tying the game. He was.
Oh my God.
No, but serious question, Efren. What are the other games? Can you please tell me the other games, Efren? I'm just curious.
So
What other
it's
games
been the Hornets. They beat by 14, who suck. They beat the Bulls by 21, who suck.
Terrible.
They barely beat the Mavs. They barely beat the Mavs, who is not even considered a contender, by 4. And then they
Not
beat.
according to you.
I mean, if I'm gonna be 100% transparent. If I don't believe in the Suns' defense, I damn sure am not believing in the Mavs' defense. I don't think the Mavs can get farther than the Suns. The Suns have more pieces; they just need to show up. But the Suns have no bench and no defense. But KD
the Suns bench is showing up.
Who's name?
Wainwright has been shooting good.
Wainwright is not playing in the playoffs, like you said. They're gonna cut that shit down to 7 to 8 people, and it's gonna be Josh Okogie.
Other teams.
It's gonna be
Watch the language.
And then now then give me 7 to 8 people that are gonna be able to keep up with that Suns team in the playoffs.
The only 3 people I can see playing in the playoffs, maybe 4, is TJ Warren, Josh Okogie, and Damian Lee. Nobody else is going to play. I don't even think Cam Payne is in the rotation anymore.
Bro. They're not going. They'd rather have what's the name play more minutes than have Damian Lee in there.
TJ, who's the Suns starting power forward right now? Then
I don't know if it's KD, but Torrey Craig's the last person in the starting lineup. He's either the small forward or the power forward.
KD. So then who's a small forward? So then who's a small forward then? If KD was power forward, so they basically had them at forwards then.
Yeah.
Okay. So then my thinking is, wouldn't TJ Warren then be with Craig at the forward spot then? No.
I don't know. They might start Josh Okogie.
They have Oakley playing. They have Payne playing as a point guard.
They probably would be Josh Okogie because he's a defender, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They have their bench has been playing good, even if it's coming with these guys that are not good. These teams that are not good. Their bench have been playing good and been blowing out teams. All 4 games have been blowouts in the second half because they haven't been able to stop them. Donovan Booker has 40 points, 42 points against OKC.
That's OKC though. You say LeBron's bad. He had 39 against them, and he got injured and didn't play the fourth quarter.
But then you guys are saying that this team can't compete for some reason. But then we're hearing last couple weeks ago that they're good enough to, they're a decent team.
No, we never said that. You guys, you and Alan, and we've showed Alan the stats. You guys were saying that Josh, what's his name? What's the dude's name? Josh Giddey was the focal point of that team. When hell no, he wasn't. But we showed Alan. Shea, the only reason why we were talking about OKC was because Shea is so good, and we showed Alan he's number 1 in deflections, he's number 1 in blocks for guards and stuff. He's got all these other stats that aren't just
categories.
He's not just a good player. Categories. He's not just a good player on a bad team.
Alan didn't even know that he was averaging 31 a game, so Alan was like, "Oh my god, yeah, my fault." Basically, you know what I'm saying? Like he's a superstar.
But other than that, they're all. Yeah. Other than that, the rest of the team. I mean, Josh Giddey's good, but the rest of the team is ass.
So can I ask, who does Phoenix have to beat for you guys to actually say, "Oh, these guys are going to be good"? I just want to know.
They'd have to beat a top 4 Eastern Conference team or the Kings or the Nuggets.
So then here's my question.
What are you guys gonna say? What's gonna be the next excuse?
I just want to see how. Well, we got to see how they beat
No,
it.
I just want to hear the next excuse after that.
Efren, if you're asking him and he's telling you the Kings, and so that's his answer. So
Because I already know you guys. If they beat the Kings, there's gonna be another excuse.
But you
They gotta do that though, bro. Come on.
But
Come on. We got to get to that point first. We got to get to that point first before you can make that argument.
Just because KD, they said 2 weeks he's out. 2 weeks.
They originally they said he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. They originally said for the rest of the season.
Fine. I see the injury. What happened?
Where his ankle touched the floor.
It was a mop-up injury.
Question.
Yeah.
Question. So here's my question for you. Serious question. I honestly I don't agree with you, but I do get the whole, like, it's tempting, man, when the Suns have KD, it's tempting to say, F it, right? I'm picking the Suns. You know what I'm saying? I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of did as far as going far, but I wasn't committing to it. Me and KJ weren't committing to it like you two. So I guess my question for you, though, is why are you arguing right now? And what I mean by that is, if KD is healthy, that's one thing. Fine, sure, we get that, right? But I guess my question is, you're almost arguing that we're wrong for not believing in the Suns without KD, right? And are you basically telling us we should still believe in the Suns without KD? Because I guess my question for you, Efren, is when you look at the Suns, they've lost all their pieces, they've lost a lot of pieces, and they don't have KD.
I understand.
Here's my question to you, E.
Wait, their big three results in Aiden, who's soft as hell. You wouldn't argue that. Chris Paul, you wouldn't trust him in the playoffs, man. He's 37, 38, okay? And then it's just Devin Booker. So if KD's healthy, Efren, I hear you. I get the arguments, but I guess my question is, are you really arguing with, like, KJ and, like, us as far as us not believing in the Suns without KD? Go ahead, Efren. I'm just curious what you
even after I pulled up the stat that they've been 1-7 against top teams.
Let me ask a quick question, guys. Okay. I'm gonna put it real basic for you. If KD's not in the lineup, would you put money on the Suns?
The way I've been watching them play, yes. Because I've been watching the Suns play
with KD.
I've been watching their bench play. That's why I bring up this name Wainwright. Hold on. That's why I bring up this name Wainwright. That's why I bring up the guy with the mask.
Okogie.
What's his name?
Okogie.
Yeah,
Okogie.
That's why I bring up Payne, the backup point guard that's playing for Chris Paul. You understand? Like, I've been watching these players play, and they've been stepping it up from when they didn't have a chance to step it up. I haven't heard Warren's name. Warren hasn't even been playing. Look at the stats. Look at the game, and look at the. If you guys sit down and watch a game without KD when the Suns are playing against these teams, and watch them play, they're actually doing. What's his name's Jalen right now? I know he's playing, but right now, the way I look at it is these players are playing so good, they're going for rebounds that before Aiden wouldn't go for. Aiden is averaging 20 points a game now when it's KD and what's his name playing. Do you guys know that he's averaging 20 points a game now?
But that's a 4-game sample size. Or that's a 3-game sample size.
You and I did, E. We talked about it last week, remember?
And Amos. Did you guys know that Aiden is averaging 20 points a game now?
No, but that's a 3-game sample size with KD.
Right, and and you understand, Efren, too. It's a new chance for him to get more buckets too, because now you don't have all these extra guys. Yes, Bridges was never a main star with the Suns, but a lot of those guys were the third, fourth, fifth guys getting buckets, or you know what I'm saying. So yeah, now KD, you better believe Aiden's going to score more. He has to, right?
And the defensive wise, I understand that Corey Craig, but like I said, you guys got to watch these guys play defense too. These guys that are coming off the bench. You understand? That's the thing.
I want us to revisit.
How much points did OKC score on Phoenix? 110?
Wait, who?
OKC.
How much did they score?
Yeah.
There was
110, right?
132 to 101.
Okay. What is their average score right now per game for OKC?
Let's see. See average points per game. They are averaging 118, second highest in the league.
So for a team that supposedly doesn't play defense, to hold the team from 19 points of regular average, and I know Gilchrist didn't play. I understand he didn't play that game.
Well, yeah,
But
they
KD
got Lindy Waters, the third, was their highest scorer.
Yeah.
It's
But
not going
KD
to
didn't
be.
play. But hold on.
It's one
But KD
game though. That's a really small
Yeah.
sample size though. E.
Yeah, but we're gonna go
One
on the
game.
future. We're gonna go on the future and see what keeps on going.
Well, no,
What
that's what I was
happened
going
to-
to say. They play between now and March 25th. They play the Kings twice. They play the Bucks. They play the Lakers, and they play the Sixers. I want to see how they play against those teams. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, depending
Okay,
on
and
how
we're
they
gonna do it
play.
all without Durant.
Huh?
All without Durant.
All without Durant. If they can't even, I don't see them. I don't see them winning more than one game. Those 5 games.
Okay. And then, like I said, we'll be talking again next week.
2
And we
weeks.
got-
March 25th. We'll talk about them again March 25th.
Okay.
But as far as that goes, so that's what I have for my Western team. I got Kings and Lakers. I want to see that matchup badly. If I go to the Eastern Conference, like I said, my team is the 76ers, but my dark horse, they're gelling at the right time. They went on a big win streak. I got to go with the Knicks.
I knew he was going to say that. Ooh.
I'm not saying I think that they can, depending on the matchup, it's hard because if you get a Bucks Sixers second round, I can see the Knicks getting into the Eastern Conference Finals. If they don't have to play
Who's
the
their
Bucks
coach?
For the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, that's right. It is Thibodeau, isn't it?
So, but I'm saying if you get the Bucks and the Sixers in the same half of the bracket, and the Knicks don't have to play them to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think they could get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then they'll either be playing the Bucks or the Sixers, who I have the Sixers going and winning. But I think that they can make it because before you go, I think they're ranked second in the East in terms of conference wins. They're only second to the Bucks.
Here's my question to you, both you and Amos, KJ, is what are you going to do when they have those lulls like they usually do pretty much every game? What are you going to do in the playoffs when they have that lull where they get behind by 15, 16, 17 points? Are they capable? Are they capable of coming back from that in the playoffs?
It depends, because I mean, I know you guys have. I don't know if it's you or Efren, but right now they're pitted to play against the Cavs, and the Cavs don't have much playoff experience either. I mean, the only person that has playoff experience is Donovan Mitchell,
right?
And he's accustomed to blowing leads. So
but that's not on him though, bro. He comes to play.
No, I know.
Night.
He does, but I'm saying like
that's a team thing. You can't blame that on him. That's a team.
I know,
thing.
but
I've been watching the Sixers a lot the last couple of weeks, which is really weird because I don't really I told you I don't really care about the NBA that much anymore, but they have like, this tendency to just go to sleep for like a whole quarter at a time. And I don't see that working for them in the playoffs. I mean,
Sixers?
It might be okay in the
I thought you said we were talking. Wait.
They had these lulls.
Yeah, but they've also been
saying, you picked this. Both of you guys are picking the Sixers, and I even told you. I think when the first time we talked about it, I kind of see them going on a long run before the season's over, which they kind of have started, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But that's their MO. They put together a good end of the year, and then they fall asleep in the playoffs.
Well, hold on, KJ. I thought you were talking about the Knicks first, Alex.
No. I was talking about the 76ers. I like the Knicks. I like that pick, actually.
So my question for you, though, then is, I mean, you're concerned about their lulls for scoring, but wouldn't you argue that and that's a fair point, but wouldn't you argue that the Sixers have a better scoring trio than the Cavs?
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, do you think that that's something that can hold up in the playoffs? And I'm not just saying in a first round matchup against Cleveland. I'm saying, is that going to hold up against?
I mean,
Milwaukee?
maybe not. But
is it going to hold up against Boston? I don't think it will.
Here's my argument, though. NBA scoring, it's all about ISO ball, right? I mean, that's they ISO so much in the playoffs. I mean, they ISO a lot in the regular season too, but playoffs, exponentially more, right? And so the Sixers have James Harden, who is a bucket getter. He's maybe the best scorer still in this game,
And who's going to guard him? Is Garland or Donovan Mitchell going to guard him?
They can guard him. So my point is, though, at the very least, let's just say Harden and Donovan Mitchell are equals as far as scoring. But then it's like Embiid, they don't have an Embiid. Yeah, Mobley is amazing, but Mobley is a few years away. So Embiid.
But that was Jared Allen.
He's still not as good of a scorer as Mobley.
Right.
He's using it for defense.
We're strictly talking about scoring, though. So my point is, in the NBA, it's all about ISO and big man mashing in the paint, and that's Embiid. He can obviously score, take you outside as well. And so I just think the Sixers are more ready to score, just from a scoring standpoint. Defensively, though, I don't want to be wrong, but I'm pretty sure defensively, efficiency-wise, the Sixers are ahead of Cleveland anyways. But we're obviously, the argument is offensively, though.
Well, also, I want to say that, like you said, you think they're starting a run, Alan. I saw stats that showed they're the hottest team in the league for the last 3 months. So they've been going
as far as what though? What
offensive efficiency?
What
offensive
as far
efficiency?
As efficiency goes?
Yeah.
Then why are they third in the league then, bro?
You mean in the East?
Yeah.
Because the Celtics already had they were running the East from the start of the year, and they just started their lull. And the Bucks are in their last 10 games are 9-1. And the only loss they think they had was to the Knicks, I believe.
And they had a 14 game run before that?
Who?
Before that loss, didn't they have a 14?
No, that was the Clippers. No, the Clippers were 10-4 before the All-Star break.
No. Milwaukee had a run where they were they won 14 in a row, 14 or 15. Just in the last month.
I'll have to check that. Let me see real quick.
Okay.
Because the Sixers just beat the Bucks.
All I'm saying is, if they're the hottest team efficient-wise, I guess that really, and I know you guys are analytic guys, but I guess that doesn't really weigh that much as far as putting you in play for the number one seed then, right?
Well, but the thing is, like I said, they're 9-1 in their last 10, and the only team they lost to was the Sixers.
Right, but you're saying that the Sixers were the hottest team the last 3 months, efficiency-wise, but they're still the third place team in the conference.
But they're only, how many games are they back? They're 4 games back, and I think they were like the 5th seed or 6th seed those months. Because Miami was the 6th, or Miami was 5, Cleveland was 3, or no, Cleveland was 3.
It was 4.
Cleveland was 4. Brooklyn was 3. Miami was 6. They were below that, and then they brought back.
Okay,
up.
and so their efficiency gave them a jump over a team that has nobody. Brooklyn, Cleveland. That is. Well, I'm just saying. You said over the last 3 months. Come on.
Yeah, but I'm saying they haven't had anybody this last week. They had KD and Kyrie the what? 2 months.
The trade deadline was 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay, so then they had KD and Kyrie for 2 months and had nobody's for 1 month.
Okay, and they're still
above them now.
And they've only moved up. How many positions? 1?
No, they moved up like 3. They were the 6th.
They were in 6th place. They were in 6th place 3 months ago. They were in 6th place 3 months ago.
Because the Cavs were above them, the Heat were above them before they fell out, and the Nets were. And they've bumped up. Nets are 11 games back of first place. The Sixers are only 4 games. So that means they have a 7-game or 6.5 game lead on the Nets now since KD and Kyrie left.
A bunch of nobodies, right?
Well, but I'm the one that said that they got good players. I said they got McHale, they got Claxton, who's improved, and they got Dinwiddie. That was Amos who said they're nobodies.
And just to be clear, they do have a bunch of nobodies. So you guys can giggle all you guys want. They do have a bunch of like literally Efren, they said nobody's, and then Efren names like 3 bench players. You know what I'm saying? It's like
no, you're absolutely. I agree with you completely, Amos. They got a bunch of nobodies, but he's trying to tell me that they've been the hottest team 3 months running, and all it's gotten them is what 6.5 games ahead of Brooklyn.
Who was above them? So how many
Don't
games was?
mean nothing. Don't mean nothing.
But how many games
Doesn't
was
mean
Brooklyn above
nothing.
them?
But the
I'm
thing
telling
is,
you
guys
right
talk
now,
about
you
Bridges.
talk about Phoenix.
Nobody.
You talk about Phoenix not putting any faith in them. That's how much faith I have in Philadelphia. That's all I'm saying.
I don't
Is
know because they play defense.
you know, and the thing about them is that you never know what Harden is going to show up from game to game. So
Yeah, but wouldn't you trust James? Wouldn't you trust James Harden more than Chris Paul though?
No.
no,
Hell
I
no.
wouldn't, bro.
You
I
wouldn't?
wouldn't. Only
Mr. James Harden that never
because
shows
all
up in
you're
the
talking
playoffs?
about is the injury. He's going to play if he can play.
It's not even the
And he's gonna
injury.
give you the same numbers that he's been given, you know, his whole career.
Do you see literally
I would.
the day that he turned 37, he was shit the rest of the playoffs and had no injury. He was averaging like 3 points and 2 assists and like 4
What was
turnovers.
James Harden doing?
He was hurt. We all know that he was not the same James Harden since he got hurt in Brooklyn until this year.
What were you going to say, Amos?
No, I'm just saying Efren gives KJ a face, but like, why are you giving him a face? He's hurt.
Because you guys are giving a guy that was putting up much more points before his birthday. What was he doing in the playoffs? Chris Paul, what was he doing?
In the playoffs last year?
Yeah. Before his
Give him the
37th birthday.
Before he turned 37.
Yeah.
What was he doing?
What did he do in the playoffs?
Let me see.
Okay.
I'm trying to. You guys can keep talking. This can give me a second to find it.
No.
Well, no, I'm just saying we go and look for it. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, man. Chris Paul is 38. He's not the same guy, and like James Harden has had a
But
bounce
He
back.
hasn't been the same guy since he was in Houston, though, bro.
So
He's
last year-
doing the same thing that he
Here.
did that he does every regular season.
So last year in the playoffs against New Orleans, he averaged 11 and So in the playoffs, at the start of the playoffs, he averaged 22 and 11, which doesn't seem right.
What?
He didn't average. I don't remember him averaging 22 and 11 against the New Orleans. But either way, after that, he went to
Wasn't New
averaging.
Orleans the team that beat them? Wasn't that the
No,
series
No.
where he
Remember
turned
they
it?
got blown
seven.
out by the Suns
That's the
or
game
by
that
the
took him to
Phoenix.
7 games.
Yeah. Remember he got blown out by Dallas, Luka, and them.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right. That's
seven.
right. My bad.
But-
bad. You're right.
So he averaged 22 and 11, and then after that he went down to averaging 13 and 5.
Okay, 13 and 5.
So he dropped
And
down 9 points and 6 assists.
Who was guarding him in Dallas, though, bro? You got to think about that too.
Jose Alvarado's a better defender
You're
than
talking about a 37-year-old guy, and he was probably being guarded by someone that was probably
he's
10,
probably
13, 14 years younger than
yeah,
him.
but you got to realize Jose Alvarado's better
Where-
defender than
kid from the
Jalen
Knicks.
Brunson.
Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, but Jose Alvarado's a better defender and he
Bro,
was doing
It
better.
don't matter.
Are you talking analytics?
No, he's like
Are
one of
you-
the best defenders in the
No,
league.
he's not, bro.
Are you serious?
No, bro.
Oh my god. I mean, I can't pull up defensive win shares because you're just gonna say I'm an analytics dude, but it's known that Jose Alvarado is a great
pull it
defender.
up. I mean, if you show me
And
that he's
how is he
better,
averaging 22
I don't
points against-
see it.
How is he averaging
He's
22
just-
points against Alvarado, but he's only averaging 13 points against Burlington, whatever his name is? The guy from the Knicks,
I'm pulling it up. Hold on.
Brunson.
Tell me. You guys literally gave up.
Was Brunson the guy that was guarding him? Because I'm guessing it was probably Dinwiddie that was probably guarding him.
No, because Dinwiddie didn't start.
Both of them. And Luka.
Brunson-
Starting them too.
Brunson, guys, let's not overthink this. Brunson was the primary guy on him, yes. But I'm just saying, like, Chris Paul's going to be 30. He is 38, right? I'm just saying,
Yeah,
if
he
he's
is
doing that,
38.
if he's doing that last year, he's still going to be playing all these guys who are 14, 15 years younger than him, you know? And like, to your point, James Harden was like a superstar in Houston. You're right. He might not be as good as he was in Houston, but again, this season he's been phenomenal. And so I guess my question, to stop going back and forth, James Harden probably isn't the primary guy. Devin Booker is, right? Obviously, for the Suns. For the Nets, for the Sixers, it's Embiid. And so again, I'm just taking that. I would take a James Harden being that Batman over Chris Paul, this year's version of Chris Paul, and an agent who's soft as heck. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just don't really think it's a big debate, man, as far as Chris Paul and James Harden right now.
I think it is going to be a big debate when
So
I think it's going to be a big debate when Chris Paul doesn't have to do what he was doing in the first couple of playoff years when you have KD in the lineup. When James Harden's gonna have to score points against Milwaukee, against a Boston team, against a Cleveland team, and play defense.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have to see them until they wouldn't, as of right now, they wouldn't have to see them until the Eastern Conference Finals because they're the 3 seed. They would be in the other half of the bracket.
Yeah,
and guys,
they would have to play the 1 seed.
No, they don't, because they do the 4-5. They do the 4-5 so that they number 1 seed has a chance of playing a lower seed. Because if they had the 3 seed against the 6 seed, the 3 seed's most likely going to win.
You still play against the number 2 seed, so you're still going to face them in the second round.
Who's going to play the second seed?
You're gonna face them.
That's
Milwaukee.
Boston.
Or Boston in the second round. In the second
I
round,
don't believe in Boston.
And then you're gonna face Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Back to what I was saying.
James Harden to have, what?
Back to what I was saying. Jose Alvarado, and it's hard. The numbers are low because the playoffs are so small sample size. But in just the playoffs alone, where is he? Jose Alvarado has a +1 defensive win share in the playoffs, a +1.7. Jalen Brunson has a negative 2.1 and negative 0.5 the last 2 years. So Jose Alvarado is a way better defender than him.
Okay. And I'm not gonna lie, guys. You guys kind of forgot too. The initial question was me asking Efren, and under the scenario I asked Efren, I said if KD is out, because Efren like a minute ago said we need to have KD to lean on, but that wasn't the initial question that we got that got us in this big debate. I had said Efren, I said if KD is out, who are you trusting on the Suns? Are you going to trust a Chris Paul who's 38 or Aiden who's 35? That was the whole initial thing. And now I'm just saying, Efren,
I'm going to trust Chris Paul and the experience.
But when he's breaking down.
I think you can't trust either one of them, to be honest with you.
No?
I don't think you can trust either one of them, to be honest with you. I have no faith in James Harden. And, everybody wants to bring up Chris Paul's age. We're talking about Chris Paul's age, which is a huge factor. But I wouldn't trust either one of them, to be honest with you.
No, he said, who would you trust on the Suns since KD's out? Ayton or Chris Paul?
Yeah,
you said James Harden. That's why we were confused.
I'm saying we're assuming
because the original question was who are you going to trust, James Harden or Chris Paul? That was the original question that Amos brought up, wasn't it?
No, Chris. He said, "Go ahead, Amos. What was your original question?"
Again, my initial thing was we were talking about the Suns, and because Efren had so much faith in the Suns, I had said, okay, it's one thing if KD is healthy. We get that because we've all jumped on the Suns bandwagon a little bit. But my point is, it just seemed like Efren was arguing with you with no KD because he was basically trying to make it. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, Efren, but it was just like Efren was arguing with you, saying, no, the Suns are going to be good. He has so much faith in them. And so I said, Efren,
he was saying that they were still good without him, which they have played.
Let me just finish. So the initial thing I said was that team now, they've lost all those pieces. They don't have KD. So again, those pieces that they had, who they trade for to get to KD, they don't have either now. So that was the initial question I had asked Efren. I said, now with that team, you're basically going to trust Aiden and Chris Paul over like a James Harden, Maxey with that Embiid has. So that was my initial question. And so I'm saying, like, it's one thing if he's. So I'm just saying it's completely different.
It was two questions. Originally, he had asked Efren who's going to step up for the Suns, and then we brought up James Harden, and that's where he was. Who are you going to trust more, Chris Paul or James Harden?
But I also said that the bench players that they have playing right now, they're stepping up for that team.
Yeah, but how are they going to keep? Are they going to keep that up?
Was the only one that actually had Philadelphia, playing in the final out of all four of us. So I mean, it's kind of irrelevant.
Amos said that they were going to play in the Eastern.
They could make a long run, but
no, he said Nuggets versus Sixers is his pick.
Yeah, I said Nuggets and Sixers, but I said Celtics are still my team. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like I'd be like lying to myself to say the Celtics are the team to beat right now because they're not, right? They've been losing. So even though I'll still go with Celtics overall, I'm just saying like right now I'm going to go with the Sixers, man, because I just like their talent. What Embiid's been doing. I just like everything as a whole. And yeah, just everything. But that's all I'm trying to say. So
What do you guys think about the recent quarterback signings? Derek Carr going to the Saints, Daniel Jones getting his big contract. I know you guys had a lot to say about the Geno contract. What do you guys think? You go ahead first, Amos, since you're the one with the quarterback that got signed.
Yep. So I mean, I'll just jump in. There's been a lot of confusion, a lot of reports that weren't true, and a lot of numbers that just weren't true. So initial reports came out having Geno Smith for about 3 years, making about 40 to 50 a year. And
I thought it was 35.
I think it was like,
because it was 3 years, 105, which is about 35 each.
No, I think it was like 40 to 50 because remember it was going to be incentives. I think they said it was incentive based.
Yeah, it was only 2 years that they actually had. The contract was for 3 years, but there was only money in 2 years of it. And that's why.
Because I remember the ESPN alert that came out said 3 years, 105, which in average is 35 a year.
Yeah, but it was. I'm saying you got to remember it was the same tweet that had Derek Carr's tweet, right? And I think they had Derek Carr making 70, Geno at 50, but then it was in parentheses. It was like 40 and 60 actually for them. But anyways, that's regardless of the point. So guys, when you actually see the numbers, and like we talked about this before we got on air. So like KJ's my guy. I got a little upset at KJ because like. We were talking about, hey, maybe the Seahawks should have traded for Lamar Jackson. And, we basically were getting the money kind of wrong because my point was, hey, as of now, today, Geno Smith is making the 16th. He's the 16th highest paid quarterback in the league, 16th. So that's average. So had you have traded for Lamar Jackson, that's a lot more money because, again, top five, when you get that franchise tag, that's top five money.
Well, that was another thing I wanted to tell you was that since it's non-exclusive, it's only 32. And I looked at the tweet that you sent me. Geno's making 28 his first year, so it's only a $4 million difference.
No, it's 28 with incentives, bro. It's 25 base.
Well, even then, that's only $7 million difference between what because Lamar's only making 32.
KJ, just go. At the end of the day, KJ, the most simple thing to do is just type 2023 QB's highest salaries. The first thing you're gonna see is it says they have everything updated. Geno Smith is at 16th, JJ 16th, and like Alan says, it's all incentive based. And so at the end of the day, my point is, why trade for a guy and be top? Why trade for a guy and then have to pay this guy top 3 money when you can keep all your draft picks, you can keep all that money and spend it on positions that need help? That was my point. And so Geno Smith, he played like a top 6, 7, 8 QB last season. Do I necessarily expect it this next coming season? Not fully, but I also do expect him to be at least a top 10 to 12 guy. And so with that said, what you don't want to do is you don't want to break the bank for a QB who isn't going to give you the best production. And as we've seen, other than Mahomes, teams don't win Super Bowls. They don't even get that far when your QB is making a certain percentage. So with that said, now that I've seen the contract and it's came out in details, I actually like Geno Smith's contract. I'm for it. Do I think the Seahawks are going to be automatically a contender now because of that? No. And I just think that with those picks and the extra cap space that they have to use it on the defense because the defense has been so trash. Let's just be honest. They don't have a lot of talent. And so long story short, I am happy with the contract. I know Derek Carr signed a contract as well, and it's a little bit for a little bit more. And I wasn't really a huge fan of that contract either because I think now he's
Before 10. You go, I have a question. So I don't know much about it, but I saw that the only thing that a team needed to give up to get Lamar was 2 first-round picks. That's all, because it's not a trade; it's a contract signing. They're matching the contract, and the only thing that the Ravens get for it is 2 first rounds. You wouldn't have to trade any players or any other picks.
So so I think what you're talking about is if you franchise tag someone, they can give him a certain, it's like for example, I think a team can talk to the Ravens, and I think it's like I don't know the exact, I don't remember what it's called, but like back in the day, Steve Hutchinson, Efren and Allen, you guys remember Steve Hutchinson, the Seahawks they didn't franchise Steve Hutchinson, they gave him like a alternative franchise tag, and what happens is it's like exclusive. And so what happens, KJ, is basically by doing that, you can then still offer him a contract, but then you have any teams then can then trade for him, and they have to give up a certain amount of whatever. So maybe that's the case, KJ. But I also know.
Hold on, and this is the reason I was talking about that, because KJ, was right. I did read into that contract that he's talking about. All they were gonna so any team that signs
Lamar.
they said
that
Lamar,
the Ravens don't match. It's
yeah,
only
that
two
they
first
don't
rounds.
match has to give up 2 first-round picks. That's the only thing. They said if he signs with any team that cannot get matched, that team has that's part of the what's it called,
The franchise tag, the non-exclusive, because it's not a
Yeah.
sign-in trade;
So-
it's just a signing.
Right,
Yeah,
Alan,
for sure.
can you look at it?
But that-
Alan?
I'm looking at it right now. This is exactly what it says, guys. Okay, so it says he's number 16. It says total value of the contract is $75 million, which averages out to 25 over the 3 years. Then it talks about the incentives. There's like $50 million or another $32 million in
Yeah, this is
incentives,
for
bro. And that's
105.
Yeah, no,
and
but
that's
we're,
over the 3 years. He
We're
can
talking
only
about
get
the
so
Lamar.
much each year.
yeah,
We're
but if
talking
you
about
look at
Lamar.
it, we're talking about
We can-
Lamar. But if you look
No.
at it, if you look at that same site, it's 25 to 32 next year, so it's a $7 million difference. But what we're asking is, Alan, what are the stipulations on signing Lamar? I thought it was you only have to give up 2 first-round picks, but I don't know. That's why I was
Yeah.
asking.
That's it. It's just 2 first-round draft picks.
So you don't have to give up a second round or any players.
Nope, it's just 2 first-round draft picks, and I don't even think it has to be in the same year. Actually,
it's
either
this year
I think
and
it
next
could be
year.
in consecutive years. Yeah,
It depends though, because if you have 2 first-round picks this year, it would actually be the first 2 this year. It's your first
Would
2-round
it?
picks.
That's right,
So-
because they were saying whoever, because doesn't
Like the
somebody
Lions-
have
the Lions
a third?
have-
They have like the 4th pick and the 21st pick or something like that.
But-
The Lions have a
Indianapolis.
bunch of picks.
Yeah, but just to be clear, the reason why we were arguing differences though. You're talking about if the team were to sign them. The whole time
Right.
I was talking about trade for them.
If they
That's what I'm
trade
saying.
Oh.
him, then it would be
Different.
probably a grip of.
So
And
that's
then
what
they still
so
got to.
they- yeah.
Right.
So
Well, hold on, everyone. And so what I'm saying is even signing him would and effort in fairness to you, signing and trading, your idea to sign him would be better than trading for him. So in fairness to you, it does sound better, but I still disagree, right? Because again, signing him, you're still losing 2 top first-round picks this year, which you would, on top of having to give him that top 5, top 3 salary, And so again, my point to effort earlier was just that, you do that. Yeah, you might get a QB who's better than Geno. I'm not going to sit here and say Geno's better than Lamar, but my question is, 1, how much is Lamar going to be better than him? And then 2, my argument is with that, whatever money it is, right? I don't want to like make up a number, but I'm just saying whatever it is, you can use that number that you saved on Lamar for Geno on top of the first 2-round picks you have this year, on top of the second rounds, whatever, and you can build your team. And so to me, Efren's the Seahawks hater, and I say this jokingly with him, but it's like Efren, you would admit too that the Seahawks just aren't very talented, right? And so I just think with Lamar, you add Lamar, yes, the offense will be better, but the defense, Efren, I just think would still be so far behind, And so that's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, AJ is
My question to that is though, wouldn't you rather take? And I'm sorry, Efren, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm gonna forget this point. Wouldn't you rather take right now? That's the problems that the Ravens have. If you don't sign him now, next year the cap's going to get even higher, and it's going to get even higher. Do you see that by signing Geno and not taking a chance on getting Lamar, that within those 3 years, either A, you're going to be able to draft a quarterback that'll be good enough to take over for Geno, or B, that Geno will be good enough in 3 years and that these defensive picks that you take now are going to be able to win you a Super Bowl when you could right now sign Lamar before the cap goes up, then he would be a ranked 5, 6 ranked signed QB, kind of like because he just wants a better contract than Deshaun Watson, which would be 3rd behind Kyler. In a couple years, that would be down to like 7th or 6th because you see
it would be 4th.
No,
Aaron Rodgers is number 1, bro.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like in a couple, like it's been 1 or 2 years since Patrick Mahomes got signed. And he's already down to 5th, and they're talking about he's going to be out of the top 10 by a couple years. So then you see
next year, actually, they're saying that.
Yeah, so then you would have
Because
Lamar on a contract.
Burrows, Herbert, and
what's the other?
Who
kids?
else? And you got to put Lamar into that too.
Yeah, and if you sign Lamar now and you lock him up for 5 years, and you've seen how loyal he was to the Ravens before they started treating him badly, You have Lamar. You go through 1 year where you don't have your first round picks, but you still have the other 6 rounds. And then next year, you still have your first round picks. Wouldn't you take one lull year with Lamar and then use your picks to get defensive players over getting Geno for 3 years where you know he's never going to be as talented as Lamar has ever been? And you got these defensive players now. What are you going to do? Wouldn't you rather take the for sure option that you're going to have a top 5 quarterback on maybe a top 10 contract in 2 to 3 years?
So I hear what you're saying, but I can't get behind that because, again, you're talking about Geno Smith, who was, by any metric, again, was a top 7 guy last year. And Lamar Jackson, besides his MVP year, he's usually around a top 5 to 6, 7, 8 guy, you know? And so, again, you're basically making the argument. And I hear what you're saying, KJ. It's the old age saying of, hey, let's trade for a proven talent over these lottery picks, and that's really what it is. But you can say that about any team. Hey, why not get this proven QB who's in limbo instead of taking your chances on these lottery picks? But it's just not as simple as that, because at the end of the day, front offices always value high draft picks way more.
Yes.
If you look at the trade chart, KJ, a number 1 pick, I'm dead ass. A number 1 pick is arguably more valuable than a top 5 to 10 QB, not like a Mahomes, not a Burrow type. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, look at the value, for example, of this trade today, right? The Panthers and Bears. The Bears traded 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore just for the first pick.
You mean the Panthers?
Yeah, the Panthers.
Yes.
And so for 2. So for so you're having to give a lot. And so my point is, you're asking us to give up 2 first round picks, which again, we have a top 5 pick, and you just saw what the Bears were able to get with the number 1, which is higher than the 5, no doubt. But my point is, the 5, you can get someone like Jalen Carter, who, KJ, I don't expect you to be like a draft expert, but like Jalen Carter.
You don't want Jalen Carter.
What's up?
You don't want Jalen Carter anymore. Trust me. They're not gonna. I know you guys will probably go for him.
Oh, Jalen Carter, I'm just being dead ass, Efren. They're saying Jalen Carter is the best 3/5 technique to come out the draft in like 10, 15 years. Now, if you're talking about from like his off field, or you know what I'm saying, fine, fair, right? But I'm just saying from a talent standpoint, bro, Will Anderson, it's going to be either him or Jalen Carter. Efren, you know this probably better than, or I know this probably the best, but you know this probably better than anybody other than me. Will Anderson last year was a Heisman contender as a defensive end. So you have 2 true superstar guys who you can get with that 5th pick. And so my point is, I don't want to lose that.
Wait, what position does Jalen Carter play?
And who's to say that a first quarterback pick isn't going to be a flop anyway?
Well, right, yeah, but what position does he play?
Also, KJ, hold on. So defensive tackle, KJ, he's a 3-5 and those positions, like, it's that and pass rush is the most important position on defense, but especially interior, because there's just not many interiors. So when you can get someone that can rush from the interior, aka Aaron Donald, that's extremely valuable.
So I was just confused. Well, I was just confused because when you were saying the reason why you don't want to. You said the reason why you need these draft picks is to bulk up your defense. I didn't know if it sounded like you were saying Jalen Carter was a quarterback. I was like, well, you just signed Geno. Why would you get another quarterback and say you need the picks for defensive? That because I didn't know what position he played.
Because we kind of gotten off the subject.
Because we moved from quarterback. Because you moved from quarterback to the pick so quick. I thought you were talking about he was a quarterback. I don't know what position he plays. He's trying
to make a point about giving up those picks, though.
And I understand what you're saying. Amos.
And it's like, why would we pick the QB? Okay, you got to understand too, though. Why would we use the 5th pick on a QB when we're trying to get to build up our role?
I'm just saying you moved into that so fast, and then it just seemed like you were talking about QB, and I don't know what position he plays.
Can I ask you a question?
Tackle.
Saying draft, we're talking about draft picks. That was your assumption, though. That I was talking about.
Can I ask you a question, Amos?
Yeah.
Name the last top 5 D tackle that made a difference on their team.
Oh, I actually have a really good one for you, actually. What's his the guy for the Jets?
Philadelphia.
No. Not from the Jets. Quinn Williams.
Bro, Quinn Williams, it was literally a top 5 for defensive player in the year.
What about Walker last year?
That's hold on. So Efren, with all due respect, you're completely wrong, and I'm gonna tell you why. Walker, bro, he's a defensive end. He's a pass rusher.
That's completely subject, guys. We're getting off the subject.
what I'm saying. It's not the same subject, Efren. Jalen Carter is a 3T 5 tech, okay, that rushes the passer from the inside. He's strictly an inside guy, which is always more valuable because he can rush the passer. Whereas you're talking about a guy like a Walker last year who they drafted him off of combine, which we'll get to the combine soon, but they drafted a Walker off of his combine. If you remember, Efren, they actually had Jalen Carter as the number one guy on that team last year.
And he had a worse year this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So my point is, Efren, to your question, what was the last impact top 5 defensive tackles? Guess what, Efren? There's not, because they don't do them, right? There's not, defensive tackles are never good enough usually to be a top 5 pick. That's why you don't see them very often, you know? And so to that point, that's why when you can get a guy, a superstar like Jalen Carter or Will Anderson at 5, I'm taking that all day long. And so at the end of the day, like I said, I personally, and that doesn't mean I'm right. We're all talking here, but I'm just saying personally, I'm banking on Geno being close enough to Lamar. That's 1. 2, I'm banking on saving the money from getting Geno. It's going to be a big difference than Lamar, and use those funds to pick up talent. But 3, and that's the main thing, is 3 is the draft picks. When you're a team that's not ready to contend ASAP, when you're a team that's not elite just yet, and the Seahawks are not elite just yet, they're not ready to contend just yet because of that defense. They have a terrible defense. You have to build on draft picks, and draft picks is the most valuable that draft picks for teams who are contenders are the most valuable thing in
a commodity. Yep.
Well,
you're right.
Yeah, it's really, the trade chart for top 5 picks is ridiculously high. It's astonishing high. So I'm just saying, guys, it's one thing if maybe we were worse, and okay, I can maybe get on with that. But I can't agree with that. I just think those picks.
I can't either, Amos. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And then here's something that nobody's brought up yet, and I was just kind of thinking this is, has Lamar said anything about where he would like to go?
Just a place that's going to give him a long-term contract, because Ravens.
Okay, so do you think that he would be happy going just anywhere?
I mean, I don't see why not. He doesn't.
So who's to say if you trade for him, he's not happy with the team that he goes to, he doesn't sign a long-term contract.
Well, no, that's the thing.
All those picks and a franchise quarterback too.
Well, no. Before you go, Efren,
how loyal has Lamar been to the Ravens?
Well, no. Before
we don't know his preferences though. No, we don't know where he wants to go. He may not want to play in a bunch of places.
But Alan, the thing is, hold on.
Okay, you're gonna say the signing though. He's talking about trading. You're gonna bring up the signing, right?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you should have held on. What I would have done is the same thing, the same problem that the Giants had. You guys don't. The reason why the Giants didn't franchise Daniel Jones was because they want to franchise tag Saquon. You guys don't have anybody else that you need to franchise tag, so I would have franchise tagged Geno Smith. But what I'm saying is that if you could have signed Lamar before you signed Geno, I would have done that. Now that you've signed Geno, I don't think you trade for him. I think the only way you should have done it is if you had signed Lamar, not traded for him. Trading for him is giving up too much. If you're doing just signing, you're only giving up the 2 first-round picks. And then who's to say, if you, like you said, if he doesn't like Seattle, that doesn't mean he's not going to play well. So then you can still trade his contract after a year.
But if he doesn't
work.
Like Seattle, then there's no chance of you signing him, though, bro. That's the thing.
Well, the best thing, you go out to try.
You have no chance of signing him if he doesn't want to play here.
But what I'm saying is you at least keep the option open to do it. And that's why I don't know why they were so fast to sign Geno when you could have waited and tried for Lamar before going. Like, it's not like Geno was going to get up and go anywhere.
Well, I think what Alan's saying. I think what Alan's saying is, because of what his preferences of where he's playing at, is he wouldn't want to go to a team that's not going to be a playoff contender.
Well, and I'm not even saying that, bro. I mean, there may be some cities that he doesn't want to play in. I mean, where's he from? He's from the Midwest, right?
I'm from Alabama.
He might want to play. He might want to play in Chicago. He might want to play.
He went to Louisville, right?
He went to Louisville.
Hold on. Here's my thing, though. KJ is talking about the Seahawks. This isn't me being biased about the Seahawks, but you guys know me. I'll happily hit on the Seahawks. How can you blame the Seahawks for signing Geno when I don't know how many times we have to go over this? He's making the 16th right now with that contract.
Right, bro. And if you franchise tag him, what's the franchise tag?
Well, no.
That's what KJ, let me say this. You said you would have rather them franchise tagged him, and then now he's making way more money. He'd be on the top 5 right now. Instead,
Yeah,
they
it'd be
got
like
but your argument was that you guys are not making a deep playoff run next year, right? You said you have.
I don't. No, KJ.
No,
we won't make run with. I'm saying without those picks, we wouldn't make that pick. No. So my argument is yes. I'd rather have the extra money. I'd rather have those draft picks. And I'd rather have Geno, who showed when he's healthy. Like last year, he was as close as Lamar Jackson. Again, it's just 1 year thing. So again, don't shoot me. It's 1 year. But for that 1 year with Lamar Jackson, and it was some of it was injuries. Lamar Jackson wasn't a top 5 guy. Okay, so Geno, he was outside the top 5, just like Geno. They both were the same. Going forward, anybody would take Lamar. We all get this. But I'm just saying, for the money, for the picks. No, I'm going with what the Seahawks did. And if it was so easy, KJ, you would have all these teams doing that. Literally, the Giants, who are more ready to win, guess what? They're choosing Daniel Jones over him.
Yeah,
what's going on? What are we all accusing ownership of doing?
I know, but my question,
they don't want to pay anybody.
Well, no, but that's the thing. I just want
the head coach at New York. Look at the head coach in New York.
Saleh.
Huh?
Saleh.
No, not the Jets. Not the Jets.
Oh, Dable. Yeah.
What is he? A quarterback guru too. Look at the quarterbacks he's worked with.
Is Pete Carroll a quarterback guru?
People say he is.
Who says he is?
Oscars told me that.
I don't think they say that he's a quarterback guru, but he's good at fitting people together.
But I just need you to answer my question, Amos. You said that you don't think they would make it. Do you think, even with your picks, that you would make a deep playoff run this year?
I think we'd have a better chance. I mean, but I did answer your question. Okay? Just listen to me. Just maybe I'm not explaining it right. Okay, maybe I'm explaining it bad. But I'm saying I did answer your question, KJ. I'm saying the difference between Lamar Jackson and Geno Smith.
I know. I'm not talking about Lamar anymore.
Just this past year.
No, but again, KJ, you're asking me if I think Geno Smith, and you're asking what, Lamar Jackson or Geno Smith? Okay,
no, that's not what I'm asking.
What are you asking?
What I'm asking is, even with your picks, do you think you're going far this year?
Not necessarily, but I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
Okay.
So my question is, if you don't think you're going far this year, you don't need all that money to pay, or you don't need all that money to pay other people to come to the organization to play. Why not see if Lamar can do this, or if Geno?
The money, bro. It's about the draft picks.
No, but you're not listening. I'm not talking about Lamar. I'm talking about why not franchise tag Geno to see if he plays the same way this year as he did last year before you give him a long contract to see if he's even worth keeping when you don't need the money next year. It's only 1 year.
KJ, but that contract he signed, you can get out of it after the first year.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that, but then that's the first time you said that.
Bro,
that's the first time you said that
before we even started the podcast. When
I wasn't here,
we were throwing each other under the bus. Exactly.
I wasn't here. My internet was out. How am I supposed to know that?
You're asking a question. I'm telling you, and now you're upset at me saying I didn't know. Well, I'm telling you, you asked the question, right?
No, I'm getting upset because I've been trying to ask the same question, and you guys keep thinking I'm talking about Lamar when I'm just asking about just Geno Smith in general. Do you think he can replicate what he did this year? That's the same reason why why everybody's mad that Daniel Jones got that contract, is because they don't think he can do it 2 years in a row.
But would you rather give him $25 million or give him 32 on a non-restricted, or even more if it was just a regular franchise tag?
If you need 1 year to find out, just give him the one. But I didn't know that with the $25 million contract that you can opt out at the first year. That's what I didn't know.
That was that was kind of the whole thing about that contract, though, bro.
But I wasn't here.
AJ, but you were here when I said I'm banking on Geno being a top 10 to 12 guy. You were in here. I just said this on the stream. So my point is, if I'm banking on Geno Smith being a 10 to 12 guy, I just said Lamar Jackson last year he was a little bit hurt, but generally he's always outside that top 5.
But what if he isn't? Is my question. What if Geno doesn't replicate is a top 10 quarterback?
Okay, but again, that's my thinking. At the end of the day, all these trades are risk. What if you trade for Lamar and then he's terrible? Okay, so let's not talk about ifs and what's ifs. That we're not going to get anywhere with this discussion. All I'm saying is I'm banking on Geno Smith being close to Lamar Jackson, because he was last year, that's the most recent season, because he was, and on top of having that salary, the money, the extra money, on top of having those draft picks. Regardless, I don't think we're going to be Super Bowl contenders whether we do Lamar Jackson or Geno, but going forward, we're going to have more cap room the following season on top of having those draft picks. So that's why I'm going with Geno every day of the week.
I'm agreeing with you. I say that you don't trade for Lamar. I wasn't here to hear that after the first year you can opt out. I'm thinking that you're with him for 3 years. So what my question was, screw Lamar, why not see if Geno can replicate it? I didn't know that you could opt out of the first year. So I was like, okay, you have him for 3 years. Why wouldn't you just use your money, use an extra $20 million since you don't think you're going anywhere this year to find out if he can? I didn't know that you could just opt out after the first year.
That part, KJ, we get it. But I'm just saying, you asked the question, and I'm telling you this, and then you're like, "Well, I didn't know this." Well, I'm telling you this, but I'm just saying, as far as you saying the whole Geno Lamar thing, I did tell you. I said I think Geno can be close to Lamar, and I gave all these reasons why I think we can be successful going forward. But like, yeah, I get your question now. But like I said, yeah, franchise tag, that's 1 year. But the deal we gave him, you can get out of it after the first year. So like, it's
I didn't know that. That's why I like, because everybody's complaining about the Daniel Jones. Why wouldn't you franchise tag him when they franchise tag Saquon? That's why I was like, why wouldn't you try to franchise tag as well?
Running back has a shorter lifespan in the league than a quarterback does, bro.
No, I know, but I didn't know.
Is a perfect example of that. I mean, he's been in the league 11 years now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you
And
also
he's starting to shine.
You also can't compare a QB franchise tag with like a running back or a tight end, because I told you guys
Exactly,
before.
because there's about $30 million difference in that.
This before, if you have a rookie tight end who ends up being the best tight end in the game, you want to franchise tag this guy, because the best tight ends aren't making that crazy amount of money. Like the market will be even higher and higher, you know what I'm saying? Whereas a QB, you're like, oh, it's going to really kill me, you know? Or like safety, for example. Safety and tight end, if you guys look at like the average, it's not that crazy. So like you guys can have
Like
a
$6 million.
Whoa.
You guys can have a super positions and afford it, yeah.
With all that,
And the tag on Saquon is only $10 million, bro.
no, I'm
Compared
just
to 41 if they did it to Daniel Jones.
I don't know what. Well, I mean, he's getting 45 anyways. It's a $4 million difference. But what I'm saying is,
I'm just saying. But look at the difference in that money, though.
No, I know. I'm saying that I don't know.
Contract.
I don't know much about that. And the Daniel Jones situation seems more bad because, I mean, he only had 15 touchdowns this year. Franchise tag him, save $4 million, sign Saquon to whatever, and see if he can do it again, because Daniel Jones is even bigger risk than Geno. I don't know much about these franchise tag and contracts.
Hold on, KJ. Before you even say that about Daniel Jones, like this guy has shown an uprising from what he was. And now having that coach that he has in New York right now, I believe he can make him into a top quarterback. So that's why I believe the Giants believe in him so much. You know,
but, I mean, when they don't allow you to pass, I mean, it's kind of hard to. I mean, it's kind of easy to look better when you're not passing as much as everybody else. I mean, 15 touchdowns, that's not that impressive.
Yeah, but you got to remember who they have in the backfield as well. You have all these other quarterbacks. The reason you see name the quarterbacks that have 30 passing touchdowns. Tell me who the running back is in the backfield.
I mean, Mahomes. Herbert's
name
third.
Running back at the beginning of the season, and name his running back at the end of the season.
Herbert has Austin Eckler. He's third in attempts.
Austin Eckler is not a real running back.
Joe Burrow's fourth, and he's got Joe Mixon.
Austin Eckler is a third down back that can catch the ball outside. How many catches does he have?
Who?
Austin Eckler.
He had over 100 this year. But what I'm saying is,
you're wrong. Efren, you're so wrong, but you're so right. No, Efren, you're so wrong, but you're so right. So, like, you are right. Eckler is an elite passing down back. All right. So you can't discredit him. He's elite passing back, but you're right. He's not an elite runner though. And I do think you're talking about like from a runner standpoint.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And I actually do kind of tend to agree with you, Efren. But I'll also add, like, look at Joe Burrow though, for example. Joe Mixon was a top 5 rushing
and he's
guy this
fourth
year.
in attempts.
He carried my fantasy team.
Burrow's fourth in attempts.
Burrow has okay, and then what else? So all the quarterbacks
Jalen Hurts was 10th. He's got Miles
so
Sanders
what
and
kind
all
of offense
those.
do they run there?
They do
Miles
running.
Sanders? But
Yeah,
Miles
but that
Sanders,
was running back by committee, though, bro. They
Yeah.
had 3 guys that
No,
were
yeah,
getting
But I'm
snaps.
saying even then with a running back by committee, you got 3 running backs and he was still 10th in attempts. To say that the only reason why these quarterbacks have high attempts is because they have no running backs.
was true.
I mean, it.
But it's true because you name another one that they don't try to run in New York. You're trying to run the ball most of the time. When have we seen a
Yeah.
screenplay to Saquon Barkley? How many times do you see a screenplay to him? How much times do you see him throwing out of the backfield to throw to him? No, they like. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That in New York, you're a run first offense. That's why he didn't have that much touchdowns. You have Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs right
Even
now.
then-
one of the top 5 running
Even
backs.
then, he's 12th. He's 12th in
Who?
attempts. Daniel Jones. So he has 534 passes and only 15 touchdowns.
So where's Goff at, though, bro? Where's Goff?
Golf had a
Goff
career
is
year, man. He was
Goff is 9th. He had 50 more passes.
He was 9th in attempts?
Yeah.
Really? With that running attack that they had? Wow. That's
Now, Go-
a lot higher than I thought. What about
Goff actually
Aaron Rodgers?
Rodgers was 11th. He was just above Daniel Jones.
But also you got to remember. Hold on. But also you got to remember for Detroit, the reason that he has that is how many games were they playing from behind?
Yeah, no, for sure, effing right, because Detroit's defense was
Yeah,
abysmal.
garbage.
Was but
Whoa.
Compared to New York, look how many games there were in high scoring. What's it called? High scoring. I don't think they were in high scoring games that much this season. I don't think so.
yeah, how many points did they average? Per
I'm checking
game.
right now. NFL points per game. New York was 18th. They averaged 21 a game.
See?
Oh, so
So
they
they-
did average the league average. I think the league average was 21, wasn't it?
Yeah, because they're 19th, or they're
21.
18th, but 14th
Yeah.
is still
So
averaging
21.
21.
Yeah, so 21. So that means that in the games that they were playing, they were barely winning by less than what? 21
I mean,
points.
unless-
or not even-
It was a one-score
If
if
game.
you go, because you got Kansas City, Philly, and Buffalo are 27 plus, but if you go before that, 4 down to 18 is only a 5-point difference.
Yeah.
You guys know I'm a big Derek Carr fan. I'm glad that he landed with his old coach. This was actually his coach when they made the playoffs, if you guys remember. Before
2016,
they fired
2016 or
No,
this
that
last
was
year?
Jack Del Rio. That was Jack Del Rio. It was last year. Before they got what's his name? When they
McDaniels.
lost in the playoffs to Cincinnati. I believe
before
him having Michael Thomas, having that running back core. He has Kamara coming out of the backfield. He has that rookie. Well, now not rookie not this year, but Olave, and he has some good tight ends, and he has a good offensive line. I'm happy for him going to New Orleans. I feel he's gonna look at the quarterbacks now that he has to compete against in the NFC South, and look at the top tier that he had to go from in the AFC West to who he's gonna be playing for now. I think they win the division, and I think they do big things in New Orleans for him. He has a good defense. You guys got to remember that too. So
Can I go first on this? Because I got a lot to say about this. I found out that a couple things. One, the Saints every year have 25% less money than every other team because they are paying players that don't play for them anymore. This is why they suck. They can never build because they're always in cap debt, which I think is why Amos is so against the Lamar thing, is because they'll be in that big cap hole. But this is just even worse.
I'll just say one thing, KJ. That's great thing that you just said. I'll just say this one thing. It's all you. Yeah, they push their funds into the following year, and you kind of said this earlier, KJ. The cap always goes up, but yet for them, and that's why they push their funds, because they think they're going to get an extra amount of money. So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's they push their funds the following year, and they really started it with Drew Brees. Go ahead, KJ. Keep going. Sorry.
Well, and another thing is that, like, how good is Michael Thomas? I haven't really been watching a lot of Saints games, but I heard that he's been ass since he came back from that injury. And on
Yeah,
top of that,
that's
he's talking
big
about. I saw they said that he did a tweet where he was like, "Thank God when they signed Derek Carr," and they're like saying people are saying the only reason why he's still on the Saints is because it costs $12 million to cut him. It'll cost $12 million more to cut him than just to keep him.
No, Michael Thomas the year before he got hurt. What was he averaging? He's a good possession receiver. He's one of the best receivers out there.
But that was also 2 years ago, wasn't it?
But that was the year after he sat out.
that was 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a while.
But he sat out.
He sat out
after,
right?
Because he
But
didn't
he
want to.
he hasn't been the same since he came back though.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
he
but
went from 17.
That's why they drafted Olave.
That's why they have Olave. But at the same time, when you can still have a short-handed receiver like Michael Thomas as a veteran, and look what Olave did this year. Let's be honest, he should have got Rookie of the Year, I believe, the way he was playing.
Wait, I thought he did.
What's the status on Kamara?
Kamara is coming out.
Isn't he going through like criminal charges or something?
Yeah,
Didn't he have like?
he facing some criminal charges that could.
He beat it.
That case. That was the one that he beat that.
I thought
case.
I swear they kept pushing that though.
They did, but I guess the way it happened is, remember, it happened during not Pro Bowl weekend, but it was something that he got into an altercation with somebody, and that's what I'm saying. So from what I heard is that he's done with that already. That I guess he just had to pay a fine or something. From what
I hadn't seen anything about it, so I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah, and then
either way,
also,
Michael Thomas he went from 100 or 1,700 yards to 400 to not playing to last year only playing 3 games and having 100 yards.
But also,
and that 1,700 yard year was a record year too, because didn't he break the catch completion record?
Who do you have?
As quarterback.
Are you sure? Because I thought they were talking about how Jetta's was going to break it this year, and it was Calvin Johnson's record.
No, he didn't. He broke the record, bro.
For most yards or what? What was the record?
For most receptions.
Most receptions?
Yeah.
No, time out.
And like I said,
did he though? Or are we getting the year Drew Brees completed it to him, and it was Drew Brees' record, or did they both set a record that year, Efren?
I'm looking at it right now. Most receptions in a season.
Drew Brees' year, right?
No. So yeah, Michael Thomas set it in 2019 for receptions.
Yeah,
was it the same?
And who was throwing to him?
Same year,
and that was Drew Brees last year.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
He's 30 years old too, and we're talking about. Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, Cooper Kupp was only 4 off from breaking that record last 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
And Devontae Adams was a couple off.
Colin, are you saying him being 30, like as it's almost like he's too, like basically we're almost saying he's falling off? I know Efren's saying he's not, but are you saying him being 30 like it's kind of wild that he's falling off? Because I was almost going to compare it to almost.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's only 30 years old.
It's very familiar with Gordon, right? Remember Efren? Gordon was like a superstar with Cleveland. He takes a few years off because of drug issues and being like suspended, right? And then Josh Gordon comes back to the Seahawks, or I think Seahawks were the first team they brought him back, and he was a shell of his former self, and he was only still 29, 30. So despite his age, I do think it's a situation where sometimes when you sit for a few years, it's tough to really.
But it also goes to show what smoking ganja can do to your career too, though, bro. That probably took some.
Yeah, it's not going to kill you, but it's going to mess up your lungs.
That's why he's in the XFL now.
Yeah. I want to know. I want to know anything about that.
But like I said, with Derek, and that's so in that situation, Derek has weapons, and like I said, Michael last 2 years or 3 years or 2 years, who's he had throwing to him? If you actually look at it, we have Jameis Winston, which is he's a decent quarterback, but not top whatever.
He can.
They were talking him up that first year he was in New Orleans, bro. He was going to do great things and stuff because Peyton was the quarterback guru.
The thing with him is that he's a great thrower, and he can get a lot of yards, he just turns the ball over way too much. And that's where like I see a lot of that's where I see a lot of that's why I have a problem with Josh Allen too. I see a lot of Jameis Winston in him. But yeah, but he can get Michael Thomas the ball.
So do you guys think that the contract that Derek got, he should have got paid less or paid more? What do you
I don't think that the Saints should have signed him. The Saints need to just rebuild. I think he should have went somewhere else.
So here let me answer that. So it's tough because his contract is about what top 10 now, top 12. So it's not like a crazy amount.
I think it's 10th. Yeah.
10th? Yep. And that's the thing. That's kind of the market for someone around that, you know. So they didn't overpay. They didn't really underpay. But I'll say that
they didn't underpay because if you actually look at it, the Raiders are still paying them too. Right or wrong?
Okay,
that's true. They are paying him this year
because even though they cut him.
So either way, though, I hear you, Efren. I'm just saying, like, I tend to agree. And sorry for cutting KJ off because KJ said that he thinks it was a wrong decision, and I kind of agree with that. But I heard something interesting, KJ, though. So let me just play devil's advocate with you, KJ. But I do tend to agree with you. So while I agree, the Saints probably aren't true contenders. Maybe they should have rebuilt, KJ. One good thing I'll ask you, KJ, is when you think about that division, though, who is the best QB in that division, KJ, right now?
It's Derek Carr now, by far. But the thing with that is, though, are you gonna? It's not like a king situation. Whereas if you make the playoffs, it's just gonna be all, wow, we made the playoffs, we're so excited. You bring Derek Carr in, who has played phenomenal with shitty defense. If he doesn't play up to this, it's a question of how well is he gonna play? Is he gonna play to the level of his team? Or is he just going to be the same way he was on the Raiders? Or is he going to be better, or is he just going to be the same? Because you expect him to be better now that he has a top 5 defense.
And that's what
the Saints do. The Saints do expect him to be better, right? Because they gave him the contract, so that's what they're banking on. At the end of the day, we don't know this, but I'm just playing devil's advocate in the sense that, like, yeah, they might not be the best team, but when you have the best QB in that division, that gives you a good advantage, a good stronghold over that division. And let's be honest, too, that division isn't very good. I mean, the Falcons are terrible. The Panthers are the number one pick. And hell, maybe the Panthers might end up having the best QB, you know, but right now you can't say that. And then who else? The Bucks, who probably have the most talent, but man, they have no QB, no offensive line.
And they're talking about letting the running back go and somebody else too on that team. They're talking about just releasing him.
Are they trying to trade him? Mike Evans too? Is he on trade? Mike Evans?
There was some rumors about that, but no, they were releasing a couple of who's the number 2 receiver on that team?
Godwin.
Godwin. He's going to probably
go. Yeah, they were talking about releasing Godwin.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying though, this is a time now for the Saints to strike though, because they're in such that division is terrible, you know. So I don't know, KJ. I mean, I do tend to agree with you. I really do. Like, I don't sound like
KJ, because what does that get you? I mean, what does that get you? A first round loss in the playoffs?
And that's the thing, yeah.
Okay, so no, since we cut him before the deadline, we're not paying Derek Carr. I think we're only paying him like $5. I think it's like $5 million.
I thought it was okay.
They're off the hook for $40 million, and they would have had to pay him 41 point something. I don't know exactly how it works.
But
they saved a lot of money.
$5 million less or $4 million less that he got from New Orleans.
Yeah,
because he's at 37.5.
But no, what I'm saying, yeah, like you guys said, like, what does that get them? That gets them into the playoffs, and you lose in the first. It's kind of like Seattle, or not Seattle. Was Seattle the number 1? No, the Niners were. But
also you got to remember this too, that defense. If they are paying Derek to what he said, look how many games he's gonna have to worry about winning in his division, which is hard to do. But how many games is he gonna have to win his division to make the playoffs?
And you're right, bro. Because didn't Tampa Bay have a losing record and won the division?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Not the
right
Seahawks.
About that.
Tampa.
So I mean, but again, what does that get you? That probably gets you a first round game against somebody like Dallas or Philadelphia.
Now you don't
whoever
get the picks
doesn't win that division, right?
Hold on. Yeah, but hold on. But also, you got to remember this too. That division, even though if it's that bad, and I understand, who knows if they're going to play that bad in that division? You understand? It makes it easier, don't you believe? Sometimes.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Just
Because then
based
you
on
can,
what we were saying.
yeah,
I mean,
'cause they can
Panthers are
like,
rebuilding. If they hit with the quarterback pick in the first round, they're still rebuilding. They're still 2, maybe 3 years away from doing anything.
And
The
what,
Falcons
and
suck.
Atlanta is a bust, bro. They're a bust. And then Tampa Bay, if they start letting people go and they have nobody to run that team, what does that leave them?
so it's a
and
scarier
that's
team
the
to face in the playoffs, right?
You said what?
Am I wrong? Isn't it a scarier team than Tampa Bay was? That's what I'm trying to say.
It's scarier, but still not a. It's hard to because I mean
Still not
you're
a wrap,
talking
bro.
you're
He's
talking
got one playoff game under his belt. One
well,
playoff game.
and you're talking about Michael Thomas. Is he even going to be healthy? And even if he is he going to play at the same level? You got a sophomore wide receiver, which we know people hit that sophomore slump sometimes. Is he going to be able to play through that? And you got a running back who's never hit 1,000 yards. Kamara's never hit 1,000 yards.
Yeah, but he has led the league in touchdowns a couple of times, bro.
Hey,
I don't know. It doesn't show.
Receiver coming in
No,
the draft, right, Amos?
He led the league in rushing and receivings combined 1 year, but that was it.
Hold on.
Okay.
But this is where I see another receiver coming in the draft for them. Right or wrong, Amos?
But then you're talking about another rookie, though, bro. Somebody that's unproven.
True.
But you know what?
But
Derek Carr has made some no names look pretty good. I mean, Darren Waller was a nobody, and now he's everybody.
I thought he was a.
But
are you sure?
He was a nobody in Baltimore, but he was a nobody in Baltimore.
Yeah, let me jump in though for a second, guys. So, but like I said, I do see what Efren's saying because, man, let me also say this: like we said, the teams in that division, it would be kind of hard for the fan base to say, "Hey, guys, we're going to rebuild." When you look at the teams from that division. And they're all in a rebuild, right? Again, I don't need to name the Falcons. You have the Panthers who have the first pick, and then you have the Buccaneers who just lost the GOAT, right? So all these teams are in these massive transitions, these massive rebuild stages. And the crazy thing about the Saints, KJ, you kind of brought up that point, they're already in debt. And so because of that, they can't trade those players and get assets out of that, right? So you're basically having to roll with them or cut them and get nothing. So they're kind of in this tricky situation where, like, you're not getting nothing for Kamara. He's making too much money, too many legal situations. DeAndre Jordan, phenomenal older player, but way too much money. Ooh. He's an older guy. So DeAndre Jordan, what's the oh my God? Maybe I say that wrong.
Cameron Jordan.
Cameron
Jordan. That's what it is.
Cameron Jordan. Yeah.
Right, thank you. So Cameron Jordan from Cal, he's like 33 or 34, great pass rusher, man, still at his age. But like, yeah, you're not going to get anything for him. So I just think the Saints are in a situation where you can't really get aspects if you want to do the rebuild. And because the teams are so bad, it's kind of like, well, shoot, why not, man? We already have kind of a good squad. We have guys who are ready to win now. Let's just go for it, And so I get it, KJ and Allen. Like, we're looking at it from a standpoint of, man, just rebuild, start over fresh. But they're thinking of it like, well, one round, you could win the second round. Who knows? You might get lucky at that second round. You get to the conference finals. Who knows?
It's kind of like, because you see how, what is it called? The Rams, they went all in. You can't go all in because you don't have the money. And now if you start winning, if you start making the playoffs, and even if you win the first round, you're going to probably go against the number 1 seed and get blown out or smoked. Now you got a terrible pick. So it's like you're going to be stuck in mediocrity, kind of like the Bengals were, or not the Bengals. Who was can't remember.
I'll just say be careful. Huh? Be careful using the Rams as an example, though, because the Rams, they traded so many first round picks, and obviously they won. So it's funny because people are making fun of the Rams now. Well, they'd have done it 10 times if they would have known that they would have won that Super Bowl. So they still would have done it.
Absolutely. But they're going to be paying for it for the next 5-6 years.
And they will be, but they still would have done it, And so my point is the Saints have to I get what you're saying, KJ, but I'm just saying the Saints didn't have to trade first round picks for something like that. All you're doing is just giving. And if it wasn't going to be to Derek Carr, it would have been to like an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. You know what I'm saying? So
that defense,
which is
kind of young,
and that's where I'm just like, that's where I say like I think Derek Carr deserved it. I think Derek Carr deserved it.
It's Cameron Jordan. They got 2 guys that are 33.
I think Derek Carr deserved it. I just don't think the Saints should have gave that to him.
I'll see what happens.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, KJ. I would definitely agree with that. They got a bargain because they got him for less than Daniel Jones, but if you think about it, he probably was worth more than Daniel Jones because of what he's done in his career.
Yeah,
right.
And I mean, like, what are they still doing with Taysom Hill?
They still overpaid for him, right?
What are they doing with Taysom Hill?
I don't, I mean, yeah, granted, you may have a shot at winning in the first round of the playoffs, but I don't really think you do because even if it is a home game, you're probably going to have to play either a powerhouse defense, Cowboys, or a powerhouse offense and defense, Philadelphia, in the first round. Whoever doesn't win that division. Right? Right?
Yeah.
But can I also play one more devil's advocate a little bit? So if we would have been doing this podcast last year at the same exact date, right, guys? We wouldn't have said the Eagles. We wouldn't have said the Cowboys. So to that point, the NFC East, right? Efren, you remember this. The NFC East went from absolute garbage division to the best division in football. So, yes, that sounds right now, Alan, and you're right. And you probably will be right next year, too, just to be clear.
But you want to know the division?
I'm just saying next year is a long.
Here's devil's advocate too. Think about this. What if Lamar ends up in Washington? Then and that team is ready to win too.
I don't want them to win.
But the general
in Baltimore.
Yeah, but that's not even. But Alan, that's not in your division. I hear what you're saying, but like no teams are going to be like, oh man, let's not sign Derek Carr because I'm certainly worried if an NFC team is going to sign Lamar Jackson, then oh man, you know what I'm saying. So I get what you're saying, but like that's a small little detail that they're not going to worry about.
I'm just saying though.
What about Lamar goes to Atlanta?
Even then, I don't think they're ready. They're not gonna. I mean, Lamar will be the best quarterback in that division.
Does Atlanta have the money to do it?
Yeah, they do.
They do?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Well, no, yeah. Atlanta doesn't have like any crazy contracts. In fact, their left tackle. Tampa Bay does not have the money, man. They could probably. That's the thing about NFL though. You could always make the money in the NFL because again, they just push the funds the following year.
Yeah,
or you end up.
I'll just do it.
You can.
What about Miami, guys? What if he ended up in Miami?
Tua got his fifth option.
Exactly.
Atlanta's second in cap space.
Tua got his fifth option picked up.
Yeah, they picked up the fifth, but I mean, if they trade, I would imagine he'd be part of that. He'd be part of that trade.
Miami wouldn't want to give up nothing else except Tua. They already gave up a lot for the other ones. Remember with Houston?
That's right. They did give up a bunch for Hill, huh?
Yeah. And the problem too is if Miami trades Tua, Baltimore is going to say, "Hey guys, everything you just got for Tua, we want that and more." And so you're like, "They just lost Tua. I just got some stuff. I can't even keep this stuff."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's too much.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
but
I feel
at the end of the day, we all know that the Cowboys are the best.
I'm cutting this out of the podcast.
Mute.
Anyways, let's talk about. Okay, so we got those two. We kind of already talked about Daniel Jones a little bit during the Geno Smith part. Where do you see these top free agents going, or where do you see any trades that can happen? Because I know I saw I saw something where Hopkins was on a podcast or something, and he was talking about why hasn't Dallas just signed him yet? And
Dez Bryant had him.
Hold on.
Dez Bryant had him.
Okay, but you guys say the same thing about Odell Beckham.
But Odell, I would sign Odell if I were you guys because he's cheaper.
But I understand. But you guys say they want us to sign Hopkins for a number one receiver. He'll be our number one receiver. Let's be honest. They'll make CeeDee Lamb a 2. But we already put too much faith in CeeDee Lamb to go backwards on him. You understand? Because I'll take an ego hit on CeeDee Lamb, I believe. They'll take an ego hit on CeeDee Lamb. Paying somebody a little bit more. Or am I wrong?
I think you're wrong. Right. No, I think no. So I just think you're wrong in the sense of CeeDee Lamb, and maybe I misheard you, Efren. I just think CeeDee Lamb's not going to get worse. Not that you said he's going to get worse, but like you add a Hopkins.
No, he said ego hit.
An ego hit.
Ego hit, yeah. where he's
But
you know he's going to be butt sore because they brought somebody in to take his place.
Okay, so something else though that I heard that was like, because basically you think right away Hopkins would be the number one, and I think, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we'd argue semantics there, but I just think Hopkins, man, I think CD Lamb is so young. Hopkins has already been traded once. He's gonna be probably traded again. What is he now? Do you guys have his age? What is he? 29, 30?
Gotta
Maybe
be real
28.
Hopkins?
Yeah, I'm guessing
He's like
29 or
30.
30.
He's like, he's 30.
And remember, guys, he didn't get traded for a lot to the Cardinals, so the value you'd have to trade for him theoretically shouldn't be that high, you know. And so I just
Yeah, he's
How much
30.
has he
He's
played
about to
the
be
last
31.
would be 31. So I just think That's what I'm saying. Efren, I guess we're arguing semantics, but I don't see him being like number one if you were to go with the Cowboys. You know, I really think CeeDee Lamb. Maybe I have more faith in CeeDee Lamb than you. You know, and you would know CeeDee Lamb's game more than I would, obviously. But I just think like, go ahead.
So I understand what you're saying. CeeDee Lamb proved me right to believe in him this year. He changed a lot what he did from the year before to this year. But like you said, like I tell you, when you bring in a Hopkins, somebody that all I got to do is throw up the ball, and he's coming down with it. Are we lying?
No, he doesn't drop the ball at all.
Well,
He do not drop the ball.
that's what I'm saying.
No, yeah.
And
Yeah, he's a phenomenal-
to bring in somebody like that's gonna put you as a number one receiver because you don't have no drops. You're not what's it called compared to a guy that has been dropping balls since his rookie year, and you're saying, man, I just had a fucking great year. Why do they bring in this guy? Like, what the hell, you know?
But there's got to be some character issues with him, bro, because they wouldn't have let him go in Texas, and they probably wouldn't, let him go in Arizona if he didn't have if there
Well,
wasn't some flaw.
they let him go in Texas because they traded Deshaun.
But Efren, I'm just saying, Efren, though, you got to remember too, though, that's the league nowadays, though. Efren, you're seeing a trend now where a lot of these teams have two superstar receivers, though. You know, I mean, when you really look at the big time teams, they all have receivers. So I'm just saying, like, we're arguing semantics. I just think like it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm definitely the number 2 guy now. You're the number 1 guy. I think it's like, damn, thank you for giving me help. You know what I'm saying? And now we have 2 top 10 to 15 guys potentially. Because you look at these teams out there, man, and they all have 2 stud star receivers. Whether it's the Bengals, whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Seahawks. They've had those 2 receivers for a while now, and they might not even be the top 5 duo anymore, right? Because you have so many teams that have these amazing duos nowadays.
Yep.
But I do think, to be clear, Efren, I think, man, that would be a perfect combination, man.
I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I just don't want like I said, I just don't want the ego boost from a star receiver to go down and then affect our offense. You understand? Like everybody always says, "Well, what happened? It's our quarterback." Yeah, right now, honestly, let's be honest. For Dallas, it's a quarterback, and we've been saying that. Everybody says it. It's our quarterback.
Hopkins would definitely improve that whole situation for Dak too, because he's a guy that doesn't drop balls, and he, you can pretty much throw it anywhere, and he's going to go get it.
That's what I'm saying, but then that becomes your number 1 receiver, because then that's what y'all know how
he would have to be, bro, because of the fact that he's been that guy for the both teams that he's played for.
I mean, he missed what? There's 17 games. He missed 8 games last year.
In the last 2 years, he's been.
No, but last year he missed 8 games and still had 700 yards.
Yeah,
he's the number 1 receiver.
And a couple of incredible catches too.
That's why Dez wants him in Dallas. Hey,
are you guys gonna keep that bum? That running back bum? Go ahead, Amos.
Look, I've seen this story too much, man. We'll revisit this, okay? Put it that way. Obviously, I'm in the minority. I promise you guys, CeeDee Lamb. I can't say promise, but I guess I'll just bet you guys that CeeDee Lamb will be a bigger target, have a better season, whether he's with the Cowboys or not, than Hopkins. Because I've just seen too many times these receivers who get in their older than 30s get traded, and it's just different, man. Like he's a stud. Like last year, like
that's not fair though, because Kyler's gonna miss all of next season. So he's going to have a backup QB thrown to him and a new head coach.
But I don't think he's going to be with Arizona. I think he's going to be tried. I don't see him with Arizona.
That's why he's for.
Hey, well, let's do it like.
Are you talking about Murray or are you talking about Hopkins?
You're talking about Hopkins.
Hopkins is going to be with. I mean, Arizona. You're talking about a team in rebuild. That's Arizona right there. They're the team that.
No doubt. Shoot.
Well, let's do it like Skip and Shannon do. I want to bet you a case of dew that DeAndre Hopkins has a better year. I bet you a case of Dr. Pepper that DeAndre Hopkins has a better year than CD because Dak is terrible.
We all know TJ loves his McDonald's and his Burger King visits. So how about
You know, I hate Burger King, and you're the one that always be like, "Let's go check if McDonald's is open again."
Hey, how close are we to being done here? I'm hungry.
I just wanted to ask. We'll just instead of doing all the free agents, we'll just do like a little cowboy segment. Do you guys see?
Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Well, we can talk about that too, but do you guys?
Oh, let's just finish with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Zeke. That's why. That's why you don't want to talk about that bum running.
No, because we were talking about quarterbacks. We don't want to talk about running backs.
We were talking about a wide receiver.
Aaron Rodgers.
You said Zeke.
Do Aaron to end it.
I got the Niners.
Let me jump in there for Aaron Rodgers. I know Alan has obviously a lot to say. Let me jump in there though.
Start it off, Amos.
All right. So, guys, Aaron Rodgers, as we all seen, rumors all over the place. He's in a situation now where he's contemplating retirement. You have a lot of the Green Bay Packers front management saying publicly now that, it's not he's not necessarily our only option. We're looking at all these different options, and we're prepared to go without Aaron Rodgers, which would have been crazy to hear a few years ago, even last year, because he was the MVP. I will just say, I think it's interesting, Alan, and I know that's your team. But man, I feel like you and my team just sits at complete opposite sides of the spectrum right now. And I say that because as a Seahawks fan, we were smart enough to trade Russell Wilson when the going was still high and when he was in his 33, 34 year season. And man, like he's always been getting a little worse in the last few seasons. We all saw it.
He's already that old?
Yeah. Russell Wilson's old. Yeah,
he was 24 when he was drafted.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
In fact, Russell Wilson was Cam Newton's age, and Cam Newton was a year or two ahead of him. So
you got to remember that he actually started his college career in North Carolina before going to Wisconsin. He was a 5-year guy.
I know you.
He was a graduate.
You said North Carolina.
North Carolina State. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm about to say I'm not a UNC fan anymore. Not if he went there.
Long story short, you trade Russell Wilson, you get 2 first-round picks, you get 2 second-round picks, and Russell Wilson has never been Aaron Rodgers, And so Aaron Rodgers, I get the age. Yes, he was older, so maybe the value would have been more appropriate and it would have been closer. But yeah, the Packers could have traded Aaron Rodgers last year after an MVP season, and you probably had a few teams that felt like they were in win-now mode that needed a QB that would have been ready to strike. And so long story short, Alan, what are your Packers going to do, man? I feel like they're in a situation where they should have already traded Aaron Rodgers because at best, it sounds like they're only going to get maybe a second-round pick for him. I'd be really surprised if the team gave up a first round for a 39-year-old who could be having his last season, man. What do you think the Packers are going to do?
I mean, obviously, the only thing they can do if he doesn't retire is they're going to have to trade him, right? They're going to have to trade him.
Didn't they already come out and say they don't want him to?
Yeah, they pretty much said that he's not an option. He's not in the equation.
They're willing to go with different options, basically, which would be crazy.
Which, you would think is kind of nuts because I personally myself, I think that Green Bay is still the best fit for him, even though the Jets have, a team that's ready to win now if they have a general. But, he's familiar with those guys. He's got a year under his belt with the rookies, and I still think that Green Bay is the spot for him, but it's pretty obvious that they're both fed up with each other. So he's got to go. He's got to go. Now, as far as where he ends up, I'm not sure. I think that the Jets are the front office is actually pretty high on him, but I remember when the talk first started, there were a lot of guys that were chirping in the locker room that they didn't want him. So now all of a sudden they've made a 360 or a 180, and now they all of a sudden want him. They're tweeting and all this other kind of stuff. So
he made a whole video.
So
He's like, I'll burn the cheese head for you.
So I still think the state of Florida might be a better fit for him, whether it be in Tampa Bay or Miami.
At least it's not in Las Vegas.
You know, I don't know if if Miami is willing to give up anything for him, but Tampa Bay probably has a lot to offer. And
I can see that.
but personally myself now, after all this stuff that's gone on, I would love to see him just go ahead and retire and be done with it, and just get yourself out of the football light. I mean, you can still be a diva if you want to, but just do it outside of football now. He's kind of played himself out, and everybody's kind of tired of it. And I'm one of them people that, even though I got great love for him and my team, but just walk away. Just walk away into the sunset. Everybody talks about, you got to be a champion. You won a title. You got that under your belt. You multiple MVPs. More than one expert has said that he's the greatest talent that's ever played the position. So, just walk away.
For me,
Some of those Packer QB is outside of football.
they always go to the Jets.
Brett Rogers.
Yeah,
That's
they
true.
do, don't they?
For me though, it's like there's two reasons why he can't retire. One, you can't retire the same year as Brady. You won't be the top name that retired that year. And two, you're giving up $50 million.
Matter, bro. You're still a first
I
year.
know, but
of
to
Fame.
you guys, yeah, but to you guys,
So it doesn't matter.
even though Efren has like one of the biggest egos I know, it doesn't even touch Aaron Rodgers' ego. He's not gonna allow it for Brady to retire the same year as him. He needs to be number one.
It doesn't matter, bro. He's always been in the shadow of Brady his whole career, so it doesn't really matter.
It's kind of like when
It
they
doesn't
say,
really matter.
I'm not gonna say that. I'll tell you guys afterwards because I can't say that on the thing. But I can't. But no. And then on top of that, he's making 50 mil. He's making 50 mil. So
He
he's
wouldn't
not
be
going to
the
retire.
first athlete to walk away from a big contract, bro. He wouldn't be
Not
the first.
or the last.
But
He's
Yep,
not the
not
first or
the
the
last.
last.
but also
Last question. I'll go ahead, KJ.
but also I think he will go to the Jets, but he's got to be prepared because he's not going to he's so arrogant. He's going to have to deal with New York media, which is way worse than Wisconsin media or whatever. He's going to have to answer all these questions. He can't just be the way
Bro,
he
he's
is.
already in the nationwide media. Everybody's
But
talking about him.
it's different.
You gotta
When he-
remember-
He would be frontline New York,
Hey,
media, but he's already there.
I'm
He's
not
already
saying in
there with
terms
all
of
his
like
answers.
I'm not saying in
Hey,
terms of he
Washington-
can't handle it. I'm saying he needs to answer those
Look at
questions
this.
or else he's going to get heckled.
KJ.
Bro,
KJ,
he's
but
going
look
to
at this.
answer him just like he did in
KJ.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He's
Ah,
going to
KJ, just
lie
look at
about
this,
shit, and
KJ.
he's going to say whatever he wants to.
KJ, just look at this. You're going to a team that has a defense set for you and is going to have a run game. What is he going to be able to say if he does win a Super Bowl there? Like,
And that's way more than Favre had when he went to New York.
yeah, when he went to New York,
That's true. That's true.
And he
I'm
took him
telling you.
to the conference
Yeah.
finals.
conference finals, yeah, too. That's what I'm telling you. That's what you got to remember. Like, so this guy can choose to leave or go there, and he's going to make the right decision. It don't matter what it is. Like,
After
So-
his time in darkness, he still hasn't made a decision.
hey,
Yeah.
well, no, he has. He said he
That's
has.
why everybody's
just-
saying that Time in Darkness is overrated, bro, because he didn't get anything out of it.
But one thing, I think he has his answer. He's just because the media was over there trying to act dumb with him the whole time. That's why he's That's why he's doing this to the media. This isn't towards the team. This is all towards the media. Yeah, it affects Green Bay. But let's be honest. Who wouldn't want Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback on their team? You name a team that
Raiders.
would not want him.
Raiders.
The Raiders, bruh. Shut
We
up.
don't want
Raiders
him.
They're
want
crying
him.
for
The
him.
Raiders
Remember
want
they're
him.
crying for him. Bro, if we could trade Dak Prescott for Aaron Rodgers, we would love him in Dallas.
Yeah.
What were you gonna
Yeah.
say, Amos?
Yeah, because
Oh,
he already owns Texas Stadium,
up.
bro.
Shut up,
And he called
Shut up,
Rogers
Shut
Stadium.
up, Alan.
What were you gonna say, Amos?
No, I mean I'm kind of off topic with this topic, but I was just gonna ask Efren a question. Well, I guess just you guys too. What happened in 1996? What year happened in 1996? You have to go back to 1996 to find this out.
The Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
Okay, so my question for you, Efren, if you can pan your camera to above you with that poster to your right-hand side, are you that desperate to be associated with a winner that you are now a Patriots fan?
Oh, hey. I had that written down in my notes for afterwards. I was going to be like, you allowed that in your house?
I know it's been since 1996 where you had some fun. You know what I'm saying? Are you now a Patriots fan, Efren?
That is my roommate's. That is my roommate's flag. He is a big Patriots fan. That is not mine. That's why I try to burn it plenty of times, but I don't want to get kicked out.
Yeah, I saw that earlier, Efren. I couldn't even think about this Aaron Rodgers discussion.
I saw that. I immediately wrote that down. I was like, Patriots flag, ?
But like that, we can end this. I'm going to end this on a whole different topic just for next week, if we can talk about it a little next week. How does it feel, KJ, to know that your North Carolina Tar Heels are not going to make the tournament?
We're going to make the tournament.
Let's go, dude.
We're going to make the tournament. No. We're that good. You can't keep Caleb Love out the team.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
I'm deleting this part. This part's not going to the
podcast. But good podcast today. I loved all the arguing, but everybody made some great points. Thank you guys for knowing your knowledge on everything, especially the job stuff and the Shawn Kemp stuff. I hope everybody looks into it. I don't think it's fair for the media to do this to these players sometimes. And like I said, the way I look at it is everybody made some good points, and we'll keep on looking into this. And if you guys have any comments, anybody that's subscribed to us or anything, feel free, like we said last time, feel free to make some comments. Let us know what you guys think. We're just trying to figure out
topics.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're thinking, how we're doing, and
let us know. Tell man, even you need better something. You got to work out. I mean, sorry.
I just want to say I changed my mind. You guys won't believe who beat the Cavs today. So we're going to the finals. We're going to the finals. Fuck the Sixers,
bro. And they struggle with that. Even though your guy had a stellar game, they struggle with that.
And the Sixers beat the Blazers. So
they did. They came back and won because they were down by like 13 when I first started looking at it.
KJ, you hear Efren? Hold on, Efren. Oh, the Blazers, but OKC and all.
Hey, I will say this.
I want to be like you guys.
I will say this. The reason I don't believe that the Nuggets will win the championship because they lost to a bum team like the Bulls by 20. So yeah, they're definitely out of the race.
Efren's my guy. Efren's the worst. No, but Efren knows this too. I love Efren, but he's the worst at that. He'll be like,
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a stud. He's a superstar.
And it's like, wait, guys, actually.
Go ahead, Amos.
Alan kills me with that, man. So I'm just saying, I love Efren, but Efren's what you said, KJ, Efren's the man, he knows it too. He's the master at that. He'll be like, wait, the Nuggets lost out one game in October 21st versus the worst team in the league. I told you.
That's why they didn't advance in the playoffs.
And then Efren will be like, see, I told you. And I'm just like, oh my God, I fucking hate this dude. I love him. That's my guy, man. I love you, Efren.
But, okay, so just a little bit of...
So we shut it down?
Well, just a little bit of...
Before we shut it down, we're going to... I don't know if you still are saying this, but just to let everybody know, if you guys are watching, we are having a special episode going to come out with our bracketology.
Possibly. If we can get everything fixed.
KJ will probably be crying because he'll be picking an NIT bracket. But
he'll be picking an NIT bracket.
We'll be picking an NCAA bracket. Dang. So just letting everybody know.
I can't wait for UCLA to be upset.
Dude, bro, they might actually end up in the NAIA bracket.
Wow.
So Efren, KJ will be crying next week when he finds out his team doesn't make it. You'll be crying the week after when you lose all your bets, right?
No. You know why? I'll be in Vegas, guys. I'll be doing my show from Vegas with you guys, and I'll be showing
And
you
there's-
guys. I'll be
And
showing
there's
you
no
guys.
crying baby.